The opinions you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Well, hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good evening tonight. A couple nights back, we watched a movie, and it was Animal House. And when we were thinking about it and we watched it, I was surprised how much stuff went on in it that they were able to get away with so many different things. And I realized that in a lot of the movies that Bruce and I have reviewed, how some movies, older movies, seem to be able to talk about a lot of things, get away with a lot of things than they would today, simply because I feel it's moved more towards pushing political agenda in the movie than actually trying to entertain you as a viewer, as a customer. Well, I guess maybe they do it differently in porn, but I don't really watch porn, so I wouldn't really know if they're, giving you what you ask for when you, go to see it for entertainment or whatever. But so during the discussion before the movie or after the movie, before we did the review, after watching the movie with Clint Eastwood, A Fistful of Dollars, last Sunday, we were talking about different things. And I had said something about, I remember when I was a little girl, my mother talking about to other adults, not to me or my sisters, that there was rules, like from some of the TV shows, I Love Lucy, and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, that they had to, when they were in bed together, they had to have one foot on the floor, and there was these different rules they had, and that they were talking about how funny some of them were, but how they were able to make it look realistic, even though they supposedly had to do these certain things to not get in trouble. So we brought that up, and Hardwick, one of my subscribers, he mentioned the Hays Code, and he was talking about it, and I just found it very, very interesting about how Hollywood tried to step up and put rules into movies without having the government having to come in to do it, because they didn't want the government to come in and push them around. So they decided to get together and come up with some things. But there had been a few scandals that had went on, and I pulled up a few things that I thought were pretty interesting about that led up to some of this changes that they made when they came up with the Hays Code. And I thought that you guys might be interested. I mean, whoever decides to watch one of these videos, but I thought it was interesting, and I'd never heard of it before. I'd never really paid that much attention to it, that it actually had a name and what the rules were, any of this stuff. I had just heard a couple people talking about something when I was a kid, and then I didn't even think about it again until we had this conversation after we watched A Fistful of Dollars. And but we had talked about how shocked we were about all the things that certain movies were able to get away with one thing, and other movies didn't get away with a lot of things. But one thing that was interesting, when I pulled up the Hays Code on Wikipedia right here, this picture was down here, so I clicked on it. I'm gonna go ahead and click on it real quick because I want to share this with you. What's really funny is that in this photo, "Thou Shalt Not," it came out in 1940, and it's by Whitey Schaefer. He deliberately subverted some of the code's restrictions in this photograph that he took. It said, number one, law defeated. 2, inside of the thigh, which they show in this photograph, lace lingerie, which is what she's wearing. She's wearing a silk, which could be a night dress if you wanted to call it, cocktail dress today. But I guess you consider it lingerie back then, with her thigh-high stockings, and it looks like she's wearing a garter, and they're fishnet kind of looking. So I guess you could call that lingerie. And then there's a dead man in the photo, supposedly dead, but because you see blood, what looks like blood. And then narcotics. So I guess there's a needle, like right here on the table, and some pills. And then you got a bottle of booze also in the picture. For gambling, some cards are down here in the photo. He's pushing all the envelopes, it looks like. She's pointing a gun at an already dead guy. And then it said a Tommy gun. I was really surprised about that. A specific type of gun in the photo is considered wrong. And I remember growing up, when my mom had magazines all over the place with articles about, smoking, all kinds of cigarettes, and they had all kinds of stuff like that. And I remember, things with alcohol, like Budweiser, all the different things. I don't think you can do that today. I haven't seen ads like that in magazines or anything it seems like forever, for a very long time. So seeing all this, you could hang this in a museum and it would be art, basically, with everything in it you're not supposed to have. I guess because he's a police officer, because there's a hat laying there. I don't know. But she's also got a cigarette in her mouth. So it looked like, they just presented this to show, hey, look at me. Look what we're doing. We're doing it anyways, against whatever you tell us to do. But I just thought that was interesting how they used this photograph to prove a point that, we're not going to follow your rules or whatever. I just thought that was, pretty good. But I just thought it was very interesting, because I never really paid attention to it, even though I've done stuff, in movies and music videos and work behind the scenes as a stand-in. I've done a lot of these different things, but I never thought about it this way. I never knew this was something. I mean, I think it was ended in 1969 when they started doing the PG ratings, rated X or whatever, that type of stuff. I have something I'm going to pull up about that in a little while, but I just wanted to talk about this because there's a lot of things that I guess people don't realize. But it says here, in 1920s Hollywood was rocked by a number of notorious scandals, such as the alleged rape and manslaughter of Virginia Raff. I never heard of her. I never heard, but I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard of these people. By popular movie star Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. Now, I had heard of Fatty Arbuckle before, and you put your thing over it brings up a photograph of these people. And this is what he looked like. He says he was an American silent film actor, director, and a screenwriter. He started at Sig Polyscope Company and eventually moved to Keystone Studios, where he worked with Mabel Normand and Harold Lloyd, as well as with a few other people. If you want to go and read that, I'll share this link. I'm going to share all the links in the chat. And I just realized when I set this stream up that you have to click a certain button so that there's a chat replay. I didn't know that. So maybe that's why a lot of people say, well, I didn't see anything in the chat. Well, maybe that's because I wasn't clicking the right buttons or something. But I thought that was interesting. It says, and the murder of William Desmond Taylor. So this was one of the other things that happened. It says he was an Anglo-Irish-American film director and actor, a popular figure in the growing Hollywood motion picture colony of the 1910s and early 1920s. Directed 59 silent films between 1914 and 1922. Wow. I guess he was a real busy director making movies, even though they didn't have sound. I think that's really, really cool. Have any of you guys ever gotten to go see a silent movie? It's pretty interesting. Now, when I went, before I get to the chat and say hi to everybody, when I went, it was fun because it was a Halloween little get together. It was like 3 days before Halloween, and a bunch of us wore costumes and stuff. And we had it was a small little theater. It wasn't very big. It was an old one that they were trying to keep from getting closed. And they were, selling tickets and selling photos that were autographed, things like that from people in the movies, different things that people had collected and donated to try to raise money. It worked because it was able to stay open for a couple more years after that. It's just that people just don't want to go watch a movie unless it's first coming out. And this theater was playing, it was they call it the dollar theater, even though it wasn't. It was like $4 a person, and the popcorn and stuff like that was good. But it had that musty smell. It was older, so they just didn't have the money to fix it all up and make it within leaning chairs, all the things that you see today and some of the fancier stuff. So it was fun though. But we watched a silent movie, and it was funny because they had a person up there playing the piano, and they said that with this certain movie that we watched, I can't remember the name. It had a French name, I think, and they played it. It was just interesting watching the people. They're over expressing and stuff, almost like what you would see on a Broadway play. That's what I got from it, is that everyone acted like that. They were very dramatic and overly excitable, something like that. But it was a lot of fun to see it. So I thought it was interesting. Let me say hi to everyone in the chat real quick. I see Planet. Wow, that's a scary picture. The way you have it lit up from the bottom. That's really scary. But thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. Hello, Lloyd Christmas. I really appreciate you coming in. Hello, Darren. Thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate it. This is interesting. I've never heard about this subject before. Really, I never even, you work in an industry for a while and you don't even know everything, the background that's involved, and it's just interesting. So that's one reason why I decided to do a show. Since I didn't have a guest tonight, I thought I would just throw this up because it is interesting. It's got some cool stuff, and why they decided to do it, and how it a lot of people pushed back against it, and I guess they still do that today. And that's why you have people that glue themselves to the ground and tie themselves to trees and whatever. But I want to say hi Jackie is what baby girl's saying. So that was sweet. Hi, baby girl. And then there's Jackie. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it. And I know that you don't have a lot of time to help me out, but the little bit that you've done, I really, really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to everybody for, coming and hanging out with me tonight. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I just thought this was an interesting, it reminds you of the Comics Code Authority restrictions. After 1954. It is interesting because everything that I was reading, I didn't get to read everything that I'm bringing up, but I'm going to share it so anybody else can read it. I didn't see anything in it for writers, besides maybe screenwriters and stuff. But to me, it was like, it wasn't the written stuff that they were panicking about. It was the visual stuff is the way that I took from it, that they were trying to figure out a way to keep people from pushing things that, like snuff films and things like that. And that's when I brought up the photograph earlier. It's showing, it had a gun, a Tommy gun, a specific gun. You can't have a dead person in it. And it didn't say dead woman. It just said dead man, so it was very, I don't know. It's just funny, the wording and the way they do things today compared to what they did years ago, because it seemed like years ago people were accepted certain things without having to have every single detail typed out for you, right? I mean, like today you buy something and you unwrap the plastic off of it and it says, do not put over your face because you could suffocate. Like if you're too stupid to know not to put plastic over your face, then I don't think you can read. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just, they've gone so far to try to cover every base that it's just it's ridiculous. It's just, nobody has common sense, it seems like, anymore when it comes to any of this stuff, because they have to put it out there like that for you to keep you from choking yourself or setting your hair on fire. I mean, it's just dumb. I mean, they've added so many rules, and it's like you got miles and miles and miles of rules, but you got very few people that can even read them. I don't know. It just, to me, it's really, really sad. But I was reading about it, and when I first read these scandals, I clicked on this. As you can tell, it's purple. This actress that she died, and they tried to say that Fatty Arbuckle killed her. It said that she was an American model and silent film actress working mostly in bit parts. She died after attending a party with Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, who was tried of manslaughter and rape in connection with her death. And then I pulled that up, the whole thing about that. But so there was scandals back then, even though we don't seem to, it seems like they only talk about, very few, like the Black Dahlia. She's something that was happening. I think it was in the 1950s, and Jack the Ripper, that whole scandal with all the women that were being murdered. And, there's just a few here and there that they seem to still lingers, that people still talk about and stuff. But it's not. It's just, I guess, because it's old news that young people are interested in old, Hollywood stories or things like that. The only time they talk about anything anymore is if they make it into a movie. It seems like, or a number one selling novel. Like Jaws was written into a novel. A person wrote it and it was such a big hit, they decided to make a movie about it. So that happens, a lot too. But usually I think that happens more than somebody, making a movie about something that happened, in a movie, and then making a TV show, and then someone writing a book. It usually doesn't go that way. So usually a person who writes a book ends up having a TV series or a movie or whatever made about it, or multiple ones. I mean, I've seen, so many different ones that have been made multiple times. Sometimes it's like too many times, and it gets more and more outlandish, it seems like. But just a minute, let me pull this up real quick. Let's stop sharing this, and I'm gonna go back to, I think, this is the girl that was supposedly murdered or killed by the actions of Fatty Arbuckle. So let me share this one, because it was the one I pulled up here. Yeah. Okay. This is her Wikipedia page. And I know that, a lot of people say, well, I don't like Wikipedia because everybody can add to it and things like that. But, sometimes you got to use what you have. And there isn't a lot out there. Really, there isn't, especially because she wasn't like a huge star or anything. She was a bit actress or whatever. But the part that I pulled up was this part about her death. It says the circumstances of Rapp's death in 1921 became a Hollywood scandal and were heavily sensationalized by the media of the time. During a party held on Labor Day, September 5th, 1921, in Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle suite at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco, Rapp was allegedly raped by him. She died 4 days later on September 9th from a ruptured bladder and secretary, where you have really bad abdominal problems, because I looked it up. And they're saying that somebody, a woman, it says she's buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles alongside her fiance, I guess, at the time. It said the exact events of the party remain unclear, with witnesses relating numerous versions of what happened. It was alleged that Rapp had died as the result of a violent sexual assault by Arbuckle. Arbuckle's accuser, Bambia Maud Delmont, had accompanied Rapp to the party. She had first met Rapp only a few days earlier. Delmont, however, had a police record for extortion, prostitution, and blackmail. Subsequent witnesses testified that Rapp had for some time suffered from cystitis. It's like lots of bladder infections, kidney infections, and all that stuff. And it's like an infection in your urinary tract area. So that's why I clicked that up there so you could read that. But the thing is, a person that's susceptible to that, and if they don't drink enough like cranberry juice or water and other juices like that, and stay away from like heavy alcohol or coffee and lots of caffeine, things like that cause you to be dehydrated, that would make it worse, which you could see really, really bad infection. And you can end up getting other infections because you're really bad bladder or kidney infection. So they're saying that she had all these things. But I guess all this stuff came out during, the trial and stuff. But it says this woman that she was friends with, you got to remember, in Hollywood, you have a lot of people that would just stand around and watch what's going on, or bump into someone and act like they dropped their bag or whatever, and a person would say, well, come on in, I'll give you a drink or whatever, that kind of thing. So at least I saw that in lots of movies. It seemed like it would be something that people could do to an unsuspecting person that seems very nice. Like if you did it in front of a church where people were leaving church, you'd more than likely think that these people leaving church are good people, and that if they bumped into you and knocked you down or made you spill your food or whatever, they would want to, buy you food or fix it, try to help you fix it. And unlike somebody that's coming out of a bar or something like that. So a lot of people would use that to get good people to help them, or give them money or whatever. So it's like a ruse. I've seen people do that in the grocery store or outside in the parking lot. And they see a person coming out with a full grocery cart and kids, and they go to their car and they'll go over and say, hey man, I need $10, we're out of gas, whatever. Then they'd point over and have a woman stand over with a kid, and the father or whatever would just give them $10 or $20 just to get rid of them, because he's trying to hurry up and get in the car and leave with their kids. So they know exactly who to approach. And if you sit back in the parking lot, you'd see it do it. They stay there for hours, and do that to lots of people. And I saw that a lot when I lived down in New Orleans. I just said, no, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash. And that's what I always told them. And after a while, they get to recognize you, and they won't come to you anymore. But it's really sad. But so the whole thing about this woman that's like already been accused of, trying to dupe people. And then you have a young woman who's always got bladder infections and stuff, problems with that. And she goes to this party. And then she does die. And so the woman comes forward and said, yeah, he raped her, and that's what caused her to die or whatever. So that would be pretty sad. But I said that after they testified, that the witness testified that Rapp had for some time suffered from, bladder infections and all that stuff, had a condition, and would be aggravated by drinking alcohol. So if she was drinking alcohol, which she probably did to fit in, that would cause it to be worse. And if she was already having a really bad infection before that and she got really drunk, that could make a big difference, because it causes you to get dehydrated, especially if you throw up and things like that. They also testified that Rapp had previously suffered from a venereal disease, is what someone said. So there were allegations of her death was brought on by her health rather than the assault. However, her autopsy revealed no sign of venereal disease or any current prior pregnancies. So she had never been pregnant, and she didn't have a venereal disease at that time, even though the rumor mill, was going 100 miles an hour, was thinking that. So hold on, let me see if anybody's saying anything. Sorry, when I'm over there reading it on the other page, I don't see the chat, so I'm really sorry. But it says, let's see. Click on this. Both the Hays Code and the Commons Code Authority were self-censoring organizations. Yeah, to keep the Senate and the House from holding hearings in there. That's exactly why I thought it was pretty cool when I first read about it, that they say, hey, we want to keep the government out of it. We've got to come up with some rules and govern ourselves so that the government will stay out of it. Hey, Phone, thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. I just thought this was an interesting topic, and thought, what the heck, I'm going to talk about it, because I don't see anyone else doing anything about it. And how it over time it progressed, and the different things that they chose to use it on, what kinds of movies, because that's one of the things that I thought was really interesting about the whole thing was, you got a group of people telling some people, when you're making a TV show, you have to have separate beds, or if they have a bed in a movie and they're together, one of them or both of them have to have 1 foot on the floor, and all these different rules. It wasn't so much that the movie didn't have stuff in it. It was the fact that they didn't want anyone on the sets to be able to accuse other people of doing something. And if there's people around, like I said, when I was on set and people did certain things like they didn't have a top on, or they were naked and they were just walking by, or they had modesty patches on. Okay. I know this sounds really stupid, but if you have patches over your nipples that look like nipples, it's really not your nipples. So you're not really nude. I mean, I know that sounds really stupid, but that's kind of things that they did. And then I think it's called a merkin or something like that. That covers your private area. But they, like Kim Kardashian, I think it's her, has a stuff out you can buy. They look like thongs. It's a thong that you wear, but it has like hair on it to make it look like if you shave and you want to go out and have fun with your husband or your boyfriend and look like you got a full bush or whatever, you can get it all different colors, gray hair, blonde, black, zebra stripe, or whatever you want. It's just really weird, but you could wear that. And on set, if they were naked and they were going to be a strip or whatever, they wouldn't really be naked because they'd be wearing fake nipples and or tassels and some type of merkin down there that looked like they were naked, but they weren't. It's just really weird. And now I never did see but one guy, and he had it looked like he was wearing a jock strap basically. So he was covered. And they were in bed, together, acting like they were doing something. And it's very limited amount of people allowed on set when they do things like that. You'll have sound and lighting and a makeup person, just limited amount. And that's it. Normally you've got 50 people, just all doing different things, standing around. But that's it. That's how they do it. So, well, I don't know how they do it on a porn. I mean, I'm sure they don't really worry that much about it. If you're all naked and stuff running around, I guess everybody sees nudity all the time, and the people in the porn, if you're having actual sex with people, I don't think there's a big deal about, making sure, oh, I got modesty patches and stuff. No, I don't think so. But I just thought all that was really interesting. So let me go back to this and finish reading what it was said. It said that they testified that she had suffered, but she wasn't pregnant. Okay. After 3 manslaughter trials, Arbuckle was formally acquitted. So they had 3 different ones. Wow. They must have had hung juries or whatever. I don't know. His acquittal in the 3rd trial was accompanied by an unprecedented statement of apology from the jury, stating in part that acquittal is not enough for Roscoe Arbuckle. We feel that a great injustice has been done to him. There was not the slightest proof. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry, I didn't read that part of it earlier. That can connect him in any way to the commission of a crime. Nevertheless, Arbuckle's reputation and career were ruined because of the scandal. You see, so it does happen. It happens a lot. I'm trying to remember there was a sports star, and I think he died recently, a couple of years ago, in a plane crash with his wife and daughter or kid, one of his kids. I can't remember what his name was. He was I think he was a basketball player, but a young woman that was brand new to the hotel or whatever that he was at asked specifically for her to come and bring something to his room. And later she had told, when she came back downstairs, she told one of the other employees that she was leaving because she was really upset that she had been raped basically by this guy. And I remember a bunch of people believing her, and then a bunch of people saying, oh, she's just doing it for money. Now, see, that's what's sad, is if she was smart and had a real good friend, they would have said, hey, you can go to the hospital. And if they'd gone to the hospital, they'd be able to tell she had tears, things like that. But then the other person could say, oh, she wanted it rough. It's just really sad that that's why I don't believe any employee. I tell people all the time, if you're on a set or anything like that and someone asks you to bring them something, always take someone with you. Don't ever go to a person's hotel room or anything like that, stars, anyone's, alone. Because if you always have somebody with you, a buddy system, you won't ever get accused of anything. And also it helps the other person, the person that's with you and the person that you're going to interact with. You have an extra person as a witness. So, and don't always bring your very best friend or something. Just ask another PA or someone on set and say, hey, come with me. I want you to come with me while I go take this to somebody or whatever. It's just smart to cover yourself, that's why another reason why I believe that all police officers should have to wear cameras on them. Is if there's a camera with a video camera, and if it's turned off because the cop turned it off when he wasn't supposed to, that makes him look very suspicious. I mean, you only turn the cameras off and stuff if you don't want somebody to see something. You know what I mean? So I just like with Epstein dying, it's so funny how the camera always just goes off. So if you have a camera on your car, on your rearview mirror or stuff like that, you have proof of what happened. If the person slammed on their brakes in front of you and they kept putting on their brakes and you were trying to stay away from them or whatever, whether or not they did it on purpose to get you to hit them. Because I've seen that before too, where they get like two different cars, and they'll get up next to you on the interstate and want to be on one side and want to be the other. And then one of them will whip out in front of you and slam on their brakes, and then you hit them. See? So they make sure the other person can't do anything. It's sad, but that happens a lot. People get ripped off, and it takes a lot of investigational work to prove that these people do it all the time. And look how many times they've sued people, and hurt people. You drive in a clunker or whatever. You got a nicer car, they know you probably have insurance on it, stuff like that. It's sad that we have that in, even back then. This was in 1921. We haven't come a long way, have we? When it comes to this shit. But I just thought that was really sad about, hi, Blarney. Your Barmy. Okay. Well, thank you for stopping in. I appreciate you coming in. But it's just interesting how they wanted to control everything about how things are going to look and how it's going to be presented from the inside, instead of letting anybody else come in and or the government regulate how they do things. So I just thought the whole thing was interesting, because I had never heard of it. So let me turn this off again, and then I'll turn this next thing on. I think it's this one. Let me see. Okay, yeah. It was a very, very scary for a lot of people back then, and especially for Arbuckle, because he was being accused and could go to prison for the rest of his life. And I can see why, if a jury, the third jury, looks at this and going, what where's the evidence, that type of thing. And I think I've seen that before. Not a lot, but in the years that I've paid attention to any of this stuff, that someone gets accused, what was it, a few years back, maybe 15 years ago or so, I'm not 100%, where this lacrosse team or whatever was accused of raping some woman, and her boyfriend is the one that took her to strip at their apartment or whatever else. And then she was found to have lied. Okay, the whole thing was lies. They couldn't find any proof that she was raped or anything like that. And finally, she admitted that she did lie. And but the sad thing is that all 5 of the guys that were accused all got kicked out, lost their scholarships and everything. Basically, it ruined their chances of ever doing anything with what they'd went to college to get in the first place. And you can't get that back. It's the same thing as accusing somebody of stealing when you know they didn't do it, or maybe you stole and you pointed the finger at them because you didn't want to get caught. It's just terrible that we have people in the world that are willing to throw a person under the bus knowing that they didn't do anything, just for a few dollars, or murder somebody for, $50 that they got their wallet. I just, if I ever really needed money, I just get a job at the chicken plant, or wait tables, or even clean people's homes. I'd be a waitress. I'd become a maid at a hotel or anything before I would become a prostitute or any of that stuff. So, it's sad that so many people get hooked on drugs or alcohol and feel like this is the only way they're going to make any money. And I just think it's horrible. And just like the Black Dahlia, when she got murdered, and she was basically doing the same thing that this woman was doing, bit parts and things like that, before she was found cut in half and drained of blood or whatever. So it's just sad. It doesn't really seem like Hollywood's evolved very much, has it? It's basically still the same nasty cesspool, me use you, you use me, as it was back in the 1920s. I mean, it doesn't look like it's got much better. But it says on September 10th, 1921, Fatty Arbuckle, a silent film era performer at the height of his fame, is arrested in San Francisco for the rape and murder of aspiring actress Virginia Rappe. Arbuckle was later acquitted by a jury, but the scandal essentially put an end to his career. Yeah, that's really, really, really sad, because this is like, this is from the History, the History Channel, basically talking about it. It's pretty interesting, some of the other things, but they, it's after 2 mistrials, and, they're talking about it. It's the whole case for him. This one person that somebody was able to drag through the mud, basically, and he was finally acquitted. But this proves that we do have a good system if you have the right people on a jury. Just like when I talked about earlier on one of my shows, I think it was like last summer, when I was in a jury pool. And everybody kept saying, well, I can help you get out of it and stuff like that. And I'm like, why doesn't anyone want to serve jury duty? What if you were accused of a crime, and wouldn't you want one person, at least one person on your jury that was actually trying to make sure that nobody got put in jail unless they had proof, evidence like DNA or fingerprints and all the different stuff that you should have to prove a case? And it's sad that a person who was raped or murdered, whatever, the only people that are brought in to go to a trial are acquitted. But I'd rather somebody go free than a person go to prison for a crime they didn't do. You know what I mean? And because it could be me. What if it was me? What if I was accused of a crime because some person thought I looked like someone else, or something, and I went through that, and they just kind of like chucked me under the bus, and I didn't have good science or whatever behind me, and I couldn't afford a good lawyer, things like that. And then I had a jury that didn't give a shit. None of them wanted to be there. They just felt like, oh, I'm being forced here. That's horrible. But if you have a jury like he had that apologized to him and said they really felt bad for him, because twice you had all these people fighting to get on a jury so they can get interviewed and get a book written about them or whatever, to be on TV, because he was a famous actor. It was somebody in Hollywood. It was a scandal. They wanted to be involved. And you have that. Remember what happened with the OJ trial? You had people lining up, to be on all those different talk shows and stuff and talk about, oh, I saw him, I saw him running away from the crime scene, or whatever it was. And if you did see him and you went and told somebody took money, then you can't be in the as a witness. You can't be a witness now. So if he did really do it, you ruined the chances of a real criminal having evidence against him because you had to have your 5 minutes of fame. And that's, to me, that's sad too. Is people are so adamant about being, oh, look at me, I'm on TV or whatever type of thing. I hardly ever tell anyone about it. I don't show people my stuff or anything because I don't want people to really know, what my last name is and all that type of stuff. So I don't put it out there. And I got a teeny tiny channel. I do this because I think it's fun. It's important sometimes, depending on what I'm talking about, whether it's a child endangerment or trafficking or that kind of stuff. I think it's important. But to do it because you want more followers or you want, I don't know. I just think it's sad that we have people that do that. But I'm going to say, let's see who's in here. If anybody else came in. Oh, hi. Lunatic Fringe. I haven't seen you in forever. How are you? Oh, yeah, he had to sentence somebody. Well, the thing is, if they did it, they should go to prison, I didn't get chosen. And the reason I didn't get chosen is because the only question they asked me, and it was the defense attorney, because each of them get to ask you one question, and I got asked by the defense attorney, do you have a relative that is currently serving in the Arkansas State Prison? And I had to say yes, because of something that happened earlier in the year with one of my relatives. And it was another relative that did it to him. So it was really sad, but I had nothing to do with any of that. But I had to tell the truth, because if I said no, because I wanted to be on the jury, and then they dug into it, I could get this guy, if he was guilty, off, because they had a bad juror, a person that lied under oath when I wasn't going to do that. So I missed out. I really would have liked to have done it, but the experience of getting to sit there and watch other people be asked questions, what the evidence was, all these different things, I just thought was really, really, it really opened my eyes to see that if you have real people on a jury that actually give a crap about the truth be coming out, you're going to get a fair trial. You really will. But if you got a bunch of people that are fighting each other to be able to be on the jury simply because they want their 15 minutes of fame, I think that's sad. And I think that's important. I think that any person who took money or I think it should have to wait a certain amount of time too afterward to even be able to be in a movie or a tell-all book, a bunch of interviews to get paid. Now, if you did it for free and you didn't get paid or anything like that, that'd be different. But if you immediately start saying, well, it's going to be $100 an hour if you want to talk to me, stuff like that, then that person's full of shit. I think they shouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier, was the OJ trial. How many people that said they saw OJ leave the back gate and run across the street and get in his Bronco and drive off, that type of thing. And she immediately got put on some show. I can't remember the name of it. It was some show, one of those talk shows late at night. And they couldn't use her as a witness because she took money for her testimony, which means it could be hearsay. Now, it's not, what jury's going to take you serious? How can you trust that she's telling the truth? I wouldn't, I'd have doubts unless they had, fingerprints and a whole bunches of other circumstantial evidence. I don't think I'd trust somebody that did that, because believe me, if you are a witness to something like this, and then you didn't sell your story or anything like that until after the person was convicted and put in prison, like that there was a woman for the what's her name? Oh, God, I'm terrible with names, but with Ted Bundy. Okay, there was a woman that was friends with Ted Bundy, I think, when he was like running for office, or somebody was running for office and he was on the committee to help get flyers out and do all this kind of stuff. That's how she met him. And that she felt that he was something about him was off, but she didn't know what it was, right? But I don't know, she just said she felt she had this feeling about him. And then when stuff started coming out, she was like, yeah, she knew it was real, that he was a real psycho or whatever. And so she started going to see him, and interviewing him and getting him more and more information and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. But some people can just sense it. I mean, have any of you ever bumped into someone or talked to them or shook hands with somebody and the hair on the back of your neck stood up? Your body has a way of sensing things that are dangerous, right? It's the same thing. You get a chemical reaction when you meet someone that you're attracted to. You'll get goosebumps, or you get that nervous feeling in your stomach, and you stutter. You don't know what to say because you're excited, or you just have feelings for this person. That's chemical reaction in your body. And it's the same thing when you feel like someone stepped over your grave, or you just get this premonition of, wow, this is not a good person, things like that. Or a lot of people get really good at pushing that away, so that you don't have any of those sensations. You can just meet anyone and not have any feelings, which is not, to me, is not good for you. It's not good to have that kind of a desensitizing yourself to everything. I don't think it's good either. So, there's lots of things that we miss out on. But animals can do it. Like I say, a horse or dog. Some dogs won't let you get on them, or certain people try to get near them. They growl and stuff. I don't know if it's always good or bad, but pay attention to what's going on around you, just to make sure that you're not surrounded by somebody that might be a serial killer, something like that. So you never know. One of my friends, I won't say who it is, went to lunch with someone, okay, and they said that they thought he was odd. They couldn't put their finger on it, but that they knew something was not right. Then later on, like a couple days later, they found out that guy, when he was sitting and having lunch with this person, a few other people later on found out that the guy had murdered his wife and had her rolled up in a carpet in his house while he was eating lunch with these people. So it's like, I don't know, you got to pay attention to that feelings that you have. And I'm not saying you got to go all out and think, oh my God, I'm with a serial killer or something like that, but just pay attention to it. If it's telling you don't go anywhere with this person, don't go, or drive yourself, or whatever you do, just listen to your body. It's trying to tell you something. Pay attention to it. So, maybe a lot less people would disappear if we'd stop saying, oh, I'm just being paranoid or whatever. Be paranoid. What's it gonna hurt? You know what I mean? Protect yourself, because you just don't know these people, especially if they're a stranger. You've never met them and you're by yourself. That's another thing. I don't know. I just get paranoid, I guess. I'm too paranoid about stuff like that. But there's so many bad people in the world, and there's quite a few good people. But the good people tend to push things away because, they don't want to look like, oh, I don't want to be a bad person. I'm going to bend over backward to be good. And sometimes that bending over backward can get you into trouble. That's all I was going to say about that. But let me open this. I think it's this one. Yeah, this I typed in the Hays Code and tried to look into different things about where it came from, who they were, because it was a husband and wife, the one that sat down and started looking at what they were going to do and started writing down things that they felt would help with the whole setup of the code to keep people from being able to accuse the people on set or different things like that of different things happening to them. If everybody followed these certain rules, it'd be really hard for them to be able to do it. And it probably did help some because they were trying to keep it to where the government wouldn't step in. But I don't know. I don't know if it really did anything or not, but maybe it did. I mean, maybe it did help some, and they may have had really good intentions. Maybe they really wanted to, try to help the movie industry by keeping the government out of it, keeping it free flowing so that it wouldn't stifle people from making good movies. But I thought this was interesting. This popped up when I was looking up the Hays Code, and this woman, I don't have Facebook, so this was the only thing I was able to pull up, but I thought it was pretty interesting. It was a group called Hollywood Costumes on Facebook, and it said this: maybe this is why America is so sex neurotic or half deprived or depraved. The Hays Code, production code, was never about eliminating sexuality or even perverted sexuality. It was about creating the illusion of no sexuality. As long as you maintain the illusion, how could you be blamed for anything? It's got something there. As long as you deny what you are doing and no one sees it, you're good to go. Just like I said, if you take a tray up to someone because it's 3:00 in the morning and you're in a hotel and you're by yourself, there's no one else working, and they ask for you to bring food up or whatever, and you go up there by yourself and you actually go in the room and something does happen to you, it's your word against theirs. See what I mean? Or unless you never come back. They have cameras in the hallway and things like that. But if you did go in there and do something, it's going to be your word against theirs. So if you can do it with another person or just push the card up and leave it out the door or whatever, find ways to not have to be one-on-one with that person. And then it says, as long as you lie through your teeth, you can do no wrong. I just love this. I thought it was very interesting. It's when we tell the truth that everyone stomps on your hands and heads. Here's a digital explanation of how and why Barbara Stanwyck's racy shipboard ensemble made it past the censors and into hearts of the 1941 Preston Sturges screwball comedy, The Lady Eve. I never saw that, so I can only read it to you. Opposite Henry Fonda, who is himself so sexy because he's not only turns every other woman on, but he doesn't know how to handle Stanwyck's heat, her hair, her legs, her perfume, and her skin, and lots of it. At least it looks like it under the bright arcs of the studio. But Edith Head and Company know better, and this is how they pulled it off. The only bare skin on Eve that's not on her gorgeous face is on her lower arms and neck. The rest is now standardized Las Vegas fabric. Her legs likely were encased in several layers of stockings of various translucence, which again gets passed by the censors. Just like I said earlier about the modesty patches, nipples, covering your nipples. Your nipples were not showing, but they're made to look like nipples. So they're not really her nipples. So she's not showing her nipples. See, she's not nude. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. And it says, on her was her face, because the rest was the fabric. And it says, plenty of drag queens don't have to shave their thick Middle Eastern furry legs if they wear enough nude colored stockings and or tights. And as it always going to be true, if you have thin, bony legs, you won't after putting on enough layers. Wow, you'd be sweating too. In conclusion, Eve looks like she's wearing a scandalously oversexed costume with lots of taboo skin for the cold Western male eye to be mesmerized by. That same cold, calculating, heat-seeking, lewd Western male eye that claims to be so innocent. She fooled me, she tempted me, and she asked for it. See? That's what they say. You know, she was wearing a short skirt and she had cleavage. She wanted it, you know. The same excuse that, you know, a lot of men used to use about why they supposedly couldn't help themselves when they raped someone, because I'll just use this. There's a religion out there that the women have to be covered head to toe, except for little slits where their eyes can be seen, because if a man in that religion sees her wrist or her ankle or a part of her neck, he wants to rape her, and that's her fault, not his. See, that's how they look at it in that religion. So I won't say which religion it is, but I think you guys can guess. But the thing is, that's basically what they're saying, that if you make your costume a certain way, you can look like you're very revealing, lots of cleavage and whatever else, when you're not really, because you're covered. So you might see a Hollywood actress walking around flaunting her ass and her chest, but she's not really, because she's wearing layers and layers and layers of fake skin. It's not even hers. That's why they don't look like they have freckles. They don't look like they have, you know, any skin discolorations, because it's not even their skin. It's layers of hose or material to make it look perfect, even though it isn't. But I thought that was really interesting. Let me copy this real quick. This is from Facebook. I'm going to put it in the chat because I thought the person who posted that on their Facebook group was really smart by the way they said it and the way they explained to you that she comes walking in and all the men go, what the, you know, they're shocked because she's so hot, you know, and she's fabulous looking in her outfit and they're all wanting to jump her bones, but she's not even barely showing anything of her real body. It just looks like she's showing a lot. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Oh, you sent me a PDF of the full text of the Hays Code. Yeah, you know, I did look around. I didn't see anything like that. So I don't know how you're able to find all this stuff. I think it's interesting because I spent hours looking for stuff. I was able to find that. And let's see, let me show you this other thing that I found. Hold on, let me open this. I think it's this one. Is it? Oh, here it is. Early Hollywood and the Hays Code. Yeah, that's the one. So let me pull this one up real quick. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I looked around and found quite a few different things. I think it's this one. Yeah, here we go. And I just love these outfits and stuff. And look how beautiful these girls are. When I saw this picture, it reminded me of Liza Minnelli from that one movie that she was in. They did a good job at making it look authentic for the year and the style of the clothing, all that kind of stuff. I just love period TV series and movies when you get to go and work on the set and get to wear the clothing and walk around and have someone come and do your hair and your makeup, and you look like, when you see yourself in the mirror, you go, oh, I look like I'm in I lived then in 1950s or 40s or whatever, or even in the 1800s. It's really fun if you ever get the chance to try that out. Do a fashion show with old clothes like that, or an opening of a brand new hotel or whatever, and you're dressed up as a madame or whatever, of that place. Do things like that if you ever get a chance to do something. It's really, really fun to get to find out what it's like. There is a few places that you can go in the United States if you want to. That there's I can't remember what state it is, but I went there to visit. It's an authentic, it's called 1880 Town or something like that. And it's a whole street, and there's a church at the very end with this little steeple and everything. And then they have like a saloon and a general store, and then they have all these businesses, a mercantile and all that with the wooden walkways and everything. And you can rent costumes to wear while you're there and spend the day dressed up and wander through town, take pictures. And then they have people that'll do a shootout and do a bank robbery. And then you can go to the saloon, and they actually have a people playing the piano, and it's a lot of fun. If you really want to find it's like, because I go to different things, when I dress up and I get to go do cosplay for, mostly cartoons for like, comic books, or for sci-fi movies or for horror, but they do them for like, it's called a Renaissance fair, where you get to dress up, like Maid Marian or whatever, those kind of characters, and go and eat like big turkey legs and eat jam, and they sell all kinds of authentic wares, there. It's just fun. If you've never done anything like that, try it out. You guys would really, really enjoy it. It takes you out of the normal tourist traps. Go do something different and unique, something you'll remember forever. And if you have kids, whatever, take them. It's really, really fun, and you can spend the whole day doing it and find out what it's like back then when people made butter, or they made jams or different foods, the smoking a pig, underground, that's buried with coals, and you get to watch them dig it up and take it out, and then peel the skin back and slice the meat and everything. It's just really, really entertaining. I love doing any of those things more than I would like going to like, a bar or whatever with my friends. But, going to a bar too is also fun. But getting to do something like that and live a total different life for, a few hours and be in someone else's shoes. What was really fun when I went to the 1880s town was the authentic furniture they had. And they had this little house, and it was just one big room, and it had the kitchen area, and then it had the bed, and it had the fireplace and stuff. It had a couple beds, like for the kids and one for the adults, all in the same room. But the beds were so short, I had to bend my knees to lay in the bed. That's how small it was. So apparently, over time, we've gotten taller and taller. So I just thought all that was just so cool and interesting. And every time I look at these pictures, I can't help but think about it, think about what it was like to live back then. Yeah, so here's some stuff they're talking about, the early Hollywood and the Hays Code. And then it says, from the dawn of moving image, filmmakers were pushing the boundaries of storytelling. Whether there was the narrative itself or the diverse people driving it, film as a medium was used to challenge ideas, beliefs, and preconceptions, as well as to entertain. So much so by 1930, the motion picture production code known as Hays Code was introduced in order to better control what people would see on screen and who could tell those stories. It's very interesting, the intricacies of how they came up with it and why. Not to mention events that were happening parallel to the business as tabloid journalism began to be as mass consumed as the work of the film stars that were being written about. So you had two different forms of entertainment competing with each other, if you think about it. Sorry, my mouth is so dry, but I'm having to take an antibiotic because I had a real bad ear infection. And, my allergies anyways, and I got my shot on Wednesday. Man, this arm is really sore too. But you got two different parts of entertainment butting heads, kind of like which we still see today a little bit with these people like Laura Loomer, Laura Logan, and other big names that go out and try to get the scoop and put it out before anybody else. Tucker Carlson, Fox News, CBS, they're all competing against each other to get the best story first, right? So that's what you got. And then you got, like Princess Diana being followed constantly, being harassed and supposedly dying because of it, because, they were following her, harassing her, who she with, Dodi Fayed, all the different stuff. Some people were just harassed constantly. I think Marilyn Monroe is probably one of them, Mae West. So, I'm trying to think of some older stars from back during this time. But constantly being harassed, just like what you saw with Arbuckle being accused of murdering this girl simply because one woman says she was there and that this is what happened, instead of actually doing the autopsy and stuff and getting the information that way. As we found out that the autopsies didn't say she was raped and she didn't have VD. She didn't, a lot of the things, and she had never been pregnant before. So word of mouth still can hurt because it influences juries, for one, because if you have, when I was telling people about me wanting to be on a jury, they'd say stuff like, "We're just telling them you want to see him hang," I wanted to be on a jury. So I didn't want to do anything that would hurt my chances. And I just said, I'm going to be honest. I'll just tell the truth and listen and answer my questions. And when I got my one question, it sucked, but oh well, I didn't get picked because I had to tell the truth, and I did. And I wish and pray that if anything ever happens and I ever get accused of a crime and I do pick a jury, because I'd rather have a jury of my peers than I would to have a judge. I really would. And I would pray that at least one person on the jury would be like me and say, I'm not going to just bend here or bend there simply because that guy or that person tells me I have to. They look at the evidence and they weigh it that way. I wish more people would do that. I saw a case where a woman was with her mother driving her somewhere, and something happened with the car. She said, that's what the woman driving said, that her steering wheel just turned and she went over an embankment down into a really deep like not really a cliff, but like a big, gutter area with woods and stuff on the side. And then she hit a tree, and the car didn't set on fire or anything, but she got her seatbelt off, but she couldn't get her mother's seatbelt undone. She couldn't get it. And she said she dug around. She didn't have anything to cut the seatbelt off. She couldn't get her mother out. And then she saw, she thought she smelled smoke, but she didn't see anything. She thought she smelled it. So she said, I'll be back. So she crawled up this giant embankment. It was huge. I mean, when I saw the pictures, I was really shocked. Wow, that was a long ways. And I think the mother was like in her 80s and the woman was in her 60s or whatever. So they were both older and they're trying to climb, or one of them's trying to climb. But while she was up there trying to wave some traffic, someone to help her, the car started on fire. And then they were showing the burn patterns of how the wax melted, things in the car or whatever. They're trying to use it against her. A lot of people were saying that she did that on purpose so that the car would burn up and she'd get her mother's insurance or whatever it was. Well, it ended up finding out that the car had had lots of problems with it. Had a bunch of recalls and all these different things. So she was found innocent of murdering her mother for money, basically. And I'm so thankful that she didn't go to prison for murdering her mother after she just lost her mom. I lost my mother, and it's been 5 years, and I still cry. I still miss her. So I felt really bad for that woman, but I was thankful that she had a decent jury that realized, this woman didn't do it. This is a tragic accident that happened, and then she's being blamed for murdering her mother. It was so horrible. So thank God for good people on a jury. But I'm glad that he got off and didn't get accused of murdering this young woman. But it said that in Hollywood in the 1920s is a super racy time. It says films were beginning to mature. They were dealing with adult content. They were sort of racy and projected images of women in power and making their own choices. There were off-screen stories of drugs and alcohol and partying and overindulgence. And then the industry was rocked by really huge scandals, namely the death of Olive Thomas, the murder of William Desmond Taylor, and the alleged rape of Virginia Rapp by popular movie star Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle. So all of these things brought really widespread condemnation from religious, civic, and political organizations. Many felt that the movie industry was really morally questionable. So there was all this political pressure. So it kind of sounds like today we got a lot of political pressure but I don't know, it's a little bit different, I guess, than some of the stuff that we're going through, because it seems like it's just nitpicking little things, here and there. But this was an overall industry of it, But to me, honestly, I wonder if there were porns back then. Were they making porn back in this time in the 1920s? See, I have no idea. Maybe I should have looked into that, but I didn't. So, sorry, because how can you regulate certain things happening in a movie, like what I showed you earlier with the weapon, and then lingerie, all these different things, drugs, alcohol, what are you going to make a movie about? If you go down that whole list, it's like they took everything out of it, so much out. I don't know how you'd be able to have an interesting story without any of that stuff. So I don't know. It'd be really hard, I think. It says we're caught between the racy taste of the jazz age and the economic realities of the Depression. Films that slipped through the cracks reflected this duly. The upcoming return of conservatism is due in part to the kinds of films Hollywood studios were creating at the height of the Depression between 1930 and 1934. With less money in people's pockets for movie-going, studios tried luring audiences with scandalous films featuring sex, violence, drug, and grotesque, like Babyface in 1932, Scarface in 1932, and The Freaks in 1932. I've not seen any of those. So maybe those are some movies that have to Bruce get us to watch one of them or a couple of them. Those storylines reflected glamorous gangsters, sexually liberated women, and class struggle. It's no wonder the Hays Code was conceived during this period. Yeah, that does make a little bit of sense, because if your industry or what your livelihood is, let's say if you own a production company or whatever, and if they end up people not being able to buy any tickets to any of your movie theaters that depend on you for movies, and you depend on them to watch your movies and to fill the seats, right, to make money. So it's like hand in hand. That's a lot of businesses, because that's one thing I remember during COVID. I still went to the movies. There wasn't hardly anyone there, and everybody, when the ones that did go there, they made you wear a mask. Now, I never wore one. They didn't make me because I wasn't, sitting by anyone or anything like that. But I did it to try to keep the movie theater from going under. And I also was with a group of people that would say, every week, if you can afford it, try to go to one restaurant, try to go to a food truck, whatever you can, to support the local businesses so that we can try to keep these restaurants afloat, at least let them pay their bills, the rent or whatever else, to try to get past the nobody going to do anything. And it worked because we didn't lose a lot of businesses and stuff because of it. But that takes a lot of dedicated people saying, hey, Walmart isn't going to go out of business because they're huge. They've got all these different stores, but people that work there need their jobs. The people that work at these restaurants need somebody to eat the food, so these people will still have a job, that kind of thing. That's what we were trying to look at. So I can understand what's going on with this, where these people are worried that if we don't get people to want to buy tickets to our movies, we're going to go belly up. We're going to lose our money, lose our income. And that's not just the studio, because you've got makeup people, you got hair people, you have people that do the film, and the microphones and the lighting and the sets, building the sets or the costumes, and then people that drive the vehicles or the catering, crafty. You got lots, hundreds of people. That anyone who's gone to a movie and looked at the credits, it's just gotten bigger than it was back then. I'm sure they didn't need 7 to 20 special people that can do martial arts or whatever it is, I don't know, or stand-ins and all the different things that they need today. I'm sure they were able to do a lot of the stuff on a really limited budget if they had to, but that's still a lot of people that will be without jobs, that would have to move or whatever else to go somewhere else to try to find some other work. But I can see why they would do it. And plus, then you'd have a few of the people, they're going to say, well, I don't want the government telling me what to do. Just, the same type of people. And most people don't want government in your face. I don't want a small government. I think we should have smaller government. So I can agree with some of the things about why they would decide to do it. And the fact that they sat down and said, hey, we need to do something because we need to have some kind of rules to try to keep the jobs, to keep the money flowing so we can pay people and stay in business. Commonly referred to by its shorthand rather than the full title, the Hays Code was named after William Hays, who was the president of the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America at the time. The Hays Code was the self-imposed industry set of guidelines for the motion pictures that were released between 1934 to 1968. The code forbidded profanity, suggestive nudity, graphic or realistic violence, sexual persuasions, and rape. It had rules around the use of crime, costume, dance, religion, national sentiment, and morality. And according to the code, even within the limits of pure love or realistic love, certain facts have been regarded as outside the limits of safe presentation. Very interesting. You think about all this. They must have known a little bit about the law, or they had people to help them write what they needed by bringing in lawyers and, different areas that they need to cover. So basically, this means we have a whole lot of married couples sleeping in separate beds for at least 20 years. I think it's funny, but that's what they had to do. However, filmmakers such as Dorothy Arzner, who concluded the legacy of female film pioneers like Lois Weber continued to push the conservative boundaries of the new Hays Hollywood. As an openly queer filmmaker and the only female director active during Hollywood's golden age, she made openly feminist films like the first talkie directed by a woman, The Wild Party in 1929, The Dance Girl, Dance in 1940, and the latter, a code-stretching tale of burlesque dancers that challenges the male gaze and audience. In fact, as talkies began to take over as the preferred format among audiences in the late 1920s, progressive stories were still slipping through the cracks until the mid-30s, as the code was rarely enforced. It's easy to sit and write a bunch of rules when only certain rules were even followed, right? I think we kind of see that trend today where some people make the laws and they point the finger at you. You have to follow the law, but I don't. You see, it's the laws are for you, not me. You see what I mean? That type of attitude, and we see that a lot right now. I think in politics, where the politicians think you have to do this, that, and the other, but I'm not going to do it. You know, I can gamble, I can do this, and I can do that, but you can't. And I just think it's baloney. And the people will put up with it. You know, after a certain amount of time, a lot of people just say, "Screw it, I'm not gonna put up with this shit." They rebel. So you'll have, like some of these people decide, well, we're going to go on strike or whatever. I don't know if they had one or not, or if that ever happened, but I can see why some of them would. But let me get this real quick. I'm going to share this in the chat also for anyone that's interested, and later on, wanting to read this or share it with someone else, because some of this stuff is pretty funny. Let's see what has he got on here. Porn movies did exist back then and were called stag films. I remember my dad saying, we're going to watch a stag film, so you kids can't come in here, or something like that. I didn't know what that meant, but now, I did later on. But yeah, I hadn't heard that term in a while, but yeah, they were illegal and not shown in theaters. They were projected at stag parties and the like. Yeah, my dad had, I brought it home. It was one of those boxes that you open and the lid, one side comes off, and it has two things that spin, and you put an empty one on, and then you run the other one to it, and it plays a movie, and it goes through and it projects it out on the wall or on your screen that you have. I found that, and I found a whole box of all kinds of old movies and stuff. It's really cool. I haven't had a chance to go through and look at all of it, but we're trying to clean my dad's house out since he's moved in with my one of my sisters, because he fell and hurt his leg. And if you ever get hurt, please go to rehab. Please listen to what they tell you to do. Don't be like my dad and say, I don't want to, it hurts, or whatever. So now he can't even use that leg. So it's really sad that it doesn't take that long either for your little muscles to shrink up and everything. So just do it. Just suffer a little bit and build your strength back up. But thank you, Hardwick. I appreciate that. That's important. It says they weren't very long. Short, about 15 minutes long. Well, I guess 15 minutes is all they needed. I don't know. Well, hello, Mr. Goodnight. I think that's it. It says good night, Mr. I guess. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. Yeah, me too. I just wish you would listen to his doctor. I mean, I just went through a procedure, and I'm still having to wrap my leg and everything still because of it. And it is getting better. I've started putting ice packs on it and doing things like you said, and it does work. doctors really do know stuff. And if you listen to them and you follow the rules and do the rehab or whatever it is that they recommend, most doctors really do want you to get better. Which, at least I believe that. I have a really good, she's a nurse practitioner, and she's great. I mean, she listens to what I say, she talks to me, and she looks me in the eye. I really like that. I like a doctor that will listen to what you have to say and work with you. What you feel's best too, you know what I mean? And I feel like I'm pretty healthy. I really am, besides my allergies. And if I didn't live in this state, I probably wouldn't even do it, because when I lived in New Orleans, I didn't have to do allergy shots. I didn't have to start doing any of that stuff until I moved to Arkansas. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of people there when I go each week to get my allergy shots. There's a lot of people with allergies. So Arkansas is not good for you if you are allergic to cedar and pine and ragweed and all those things, because it's all here. So yeah. So thank you for stopping in, you guys. And do just, try to take care of yourself and do the best you can with what you have. But common sense works really well, I think. It said, sorry, my throat. The enforcement of the code also saw the work of early performers like Mabel Normand lost to history. Known as the mother of comedy, she directed Charlie Chaplin's first portrayal of his famous character, the Tramp, and is considered the first person to break the fourth wall in film. Oh, a frequent collaborator of Buster Keaton, she also originated the pie in the face gag, with Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle being on the receiving end. And it was her association with Arbuckle that was largely behind the reason much of her career was forgotten and her films banned. Oh, it's terrible. Okay, and then they have Betty Boop little video here. That's why I shared the link, so you can go watch some of these things that go along with the article. I don't want to play them because I'm afraid that YouTube will throw a tantrum, even though I play that at the beginning every time that, I'm doing this to talk about or whatever. They shouldn't throw a fit over it, but copyright issues, and they get all pissy with you. It says the Hays Code had such a huge effect on Hollywood, says O'Brien. When you think about characters like Betty Boop, who started out as an incredible flapper who was sexually unrestricted and increasingly or incredibly interesting, but later, due to the code, goes on to become this sort of conservative housewife figure and basically writes herself out of production. Yeah, that is kind of sad. But you know what? I never really watched Betty Boop. I just remember the boop boop be doo. That's it. I mean, I really don't remember any videos, watching any cartoons or anything with her. I just know that I think the first time I ever even heard of Betty Boop was in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. When she was in that little part in that. I didn't know anything about her. So, yeah, it is sad that the artistic expression of the person who wrote the script and the director and the people that come together to present something, whether it's a porn or it's a horror movie or whatever it is, I really do believe that what they want to do, they should be able to do it. If everybody involved is consenting, like a porn or whatever, then they should have the right to make it. I mean, that's how I look at it. But that doesn't mean that I have to see it. You see what I mean? I can speak all I want, just like I'm doing tonight on this, but that doesn't mean I have to make people watch me do my show. They either can watch it or they don't. and I can live with the fact that, only a few people watch it. That's okay. I can live with that. I'm not expecting 1 million views or anything like that. And it's, but I have the right to do it. See, that's what I think everyone should have the right. If anyone wants to get their phone and make a video and post it somewhere, they should have the right to do that. Unless, you're torturing animals or you're breaking the law. And that we have to have laws, because you can't have groups and groups of people living together and just stepping all over each other, stealing from each other, killing each other, things like that. You have to have rules that you follow so that everyone is treated with respect, equally. And that sometimes that's hard, and sometimes artistic expression gets squashed because, somebody may not want to go to the museum and see a bunch of, vag and boobs and penis pictures all over the wall. Now, if I went to a specific museum and I wanted to see pornographic art, then I would expect to see that because I paid it for a ticket or whatever to enter to see that specific stuff. But if I went to a regular museum and I wanted to see, sculptures and paintings and, other things that, are in a museum, like shark's teeth and fossils or whatever, that's what I would want to see. I don't want to see pieces of other people's bodies or whatever else, unless I ask for it. But if I want to see it, I should have the right to go see it. If I want to go see a specific closed door special exhibit, and it's got certain things that somebody would say it's risque or taboo or whatever, I think you should have the right to do that if you're of age. And I don't think the government should tell you can't. Just like I don't really go to porns, but I don't think it's right to tell other people they can't. And if we have a government that refuses to let you do that stuff, to me, that's not freedom. Like I have the right to have a gun as long as I am not a criminal, okay, and I take the right training and I get the permits or whatever I need to prove that I know how to use this weapon and that it's mine, that I own it. And so that person down the street should be able to have the same rights, unless they, broke the law and have proven they're not capable of following the law when it comes to owning a weapon, stuff like that. I do believe in all that stuff. But it is sad to think about different people that were hurt because of a person that was accused of murdering someone. Basically, they went through 3 trials and then they were proven innocent by acquittal, and the jury apologized to him, saying that they were shocked when they saw the evidence that he'd already gone to court twice, how much money he lost, time and effort that he lost of his life of being able to act or do whatever he was doing before that. Just like this director that directed and had so many things in her career, first time things that other people now just think is everyday comedy, getting hit in the face with a pie or things like that. It is sad. It's sad to know that that person basically got kicked to the curb simply because they were ostracized, because they were put on the blacklist, and that happened to a lot of people in Hollywood just recently when, Hollywood South, that's what we called it, down in New Orleans and, in Georgia, all the area down there, because it's not in California. But because of tax incentives, more and more companies are spreading out to other states to make movies, music videos, and TV shows, things like that, documentaries, whatever, because they could get actors and people that know how to work behind the camera, assistants, stand-ins, extras, people that can build sets and all these things in other states besides California or New York or even in Canada, because they do film a lot of things in Canada. because of all that. They have plentiful of people that understand how all that works. But, you know, I still believe that people should have the right to do that. You know, sooner or later, what are we going to do when there isn't any entertainment? We're just going to put on a helmet, you know, and think of something and it just makes it for us. You know, is that going to be it? And that people just sit around and do nothing but wear this thing on their head because they don't have to do anything anymore. Everything is just made up for them. I don't want to live that way. That's like living in the Matrix. I want real life, you know, real contact with people. And I want to be able to sit in a theater and watch a show, a fantasy or a horror or whatever it is, a comedy at my leisure, you know, because I want to be there, not because somebody said I had to go watch it. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know what direction it would go, but for whatever purpose they had to do this, honestly, I think it was for the best, because I don't want kids going to see something that's, you know, way above their, you know, pay grade, basically, that they shouldn't see. And I don't think any of you would want your kid to find out they went and stayed the night with their friend, and their friend went to this movie and they saw this movie, and you would go, "What the hell?" You know, you'd be pissed off. Oh, thank you so much to Betty Boop. Oh, I wish I'm going to have to sit and watch something of hers, you know, an actual one of her little shows or whatever, because I really, I missed out, I guess, because so many people thought Betty Boop was awesome. And I know a few people that have like tons of stuff with Betty Boop dolls. They got, you know, mugs and little hats and all kinds of stuff with Betty Boop on it. They really love her. So yeah, I guess I'm missing out, because I sure would like to find out a little bit more about why Betty Boop's an icon, you know, and not just Betty Boop. I'm just like Charlie Chaplin and some of the others. And what made them so famous? You know, was it their actual talent? Was it the story behind the character that made them famous? And if it was just those things, it would be harder for some company to write this kind of stuff, you know, this code, and take them out, wouldn't it? It would seem like you'd have to have more people stopping them. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining it right or not. If you have a group of people that don't like you, okay, they don't like you for whatever reason. Let's say you married their ex-wife or something, right? So now they think, okay, you're out. We're going to get rid of this person. Nobody hire them. And anyone that does hire them will never work for me again. You see, that type of thing, being blackballed. And well, like I was saying, when I was in New Orleans and the whole thing started happening with COVID, right? Well, you know, when you're a stand-in or you do PA work or things like that, and they say, well, we want you for this production. And I go there and they go, well, do you have your card for your vaccination? And I'm like, no, well, we can't hire you. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, you know, you're putting people at risk because you didn't get the vaccine. And I was like, oh, well, why do we have to tell anyone? Well, you know, we have to have proof that you've got your shots. And I was like, oh. And then what was really sad is I knew a lot of people that were paying doctors to give them the paperwork, but not getting the shot. So just so they could work. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I just found other ways. I started crafting more and doing other things because I wasn't going to get hired because I didn't get the shot. So it was basically, like I said, you get ostracized, you get put on the blacklist to where, oh, you can't hire her, you know, because she didn't get jabbed up. So, you know, that happens. You have to get on one side or the other. You can't sit on the edge of the fence and just lean one way for a little while and then lean the other, it doesn't last very long before you're going to fall off on one side or the other. So it's best for you to just make your choice, what you want to do, and just do it. And be proud to be yourself. Once we start doing that, I think we're all going to be a lot happier. But thank you to Betty Boop, and thank you, Good Night Mister, for the wonderful super chat. I'm not used to this yet. I was over on the other page and didn't even notice it, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And it's nice to know that you love Betty Boop. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It says, I wish you would stop rewriting our history. However, it has already been written by the victors. Yep, that's right. That's true. Well, it is true to a degree, for sure. It says, yeah, I do practically feel free. Criminals don't follow laws. Only good people do. That's a 100%. And it's sad, isn't it? Because, man, I get so frustrated sometimes saying, God, if I could just, go over there and punch that person right in the nose and show them how I feel. But I don't. I want to. And I know a lot of people get frustrated and you want to just go slap some sense in some people, but you can't, And if they came over and slapped me, I'd sue them. I'd sue the shit out of them. So, and you'd have the right to do the same thing because they don't have the right to put their hands on you. So let's see. Oh, hey all. Thank you very much. My concealed carry permit is my DD 214 in Louisiana. Yep. That's concealed carry. Yeah, I have an advanced concealed carry myself in the state of Arkansas now too. I took that class, but I went above a little bit because I started seeing some things that I saw on TV where a bad person can walk by and see no handguns permitted, no concealed carry, no this, no that, right? You're a sitting target waiting for someone to come in with a gun, because the only people that are going to go in there with a gun is going to be the bad person, right? So I'm never going to get stuck in that position. That's why I decided to take the classes, and I did pretty good. I'll have to take a picture and post it again. It's been a while since I shared it. I have my the picture of my target that I was shooting at. It has all the information written on there and signed by the person who did my test and everything. Felt pretty good because I did really good. I was really surprised. And it helped me decide what kind of gun I definitely wanted to keep and use more than another, because you might have 5 or 6 weapons, but you're always going to have that one weapon that you just say, if I had anything bad happens, this is the one I feel the most comfortable with. And that's how I feel about my one special weapon. I feel very comfortable with it. I feel like it's part of me. It's very balanced, and I feel like I can do anything almost when I have that. For some reason, I don't know why. It's weird, but you take the classes like you should. I think anyone who buys a weapon, even if you were raised like I was, where my dad always had weapons, we knew they were weapons. We never played with it or anything. Why? Because my dad took it out and showed it to us. He showed us how he cleaned it. He showed us everything about it. He let us hold it. He showed us, explained to us, and even showed us a couple of books and other things to show us what they do, the damage they do. So you see what happens when you shoot something, things like that. I think that's very important for our country and for anyone who wants to understand the rights that we have for the Second Amendment. I think it's very important, because even if you don't want to ever own a gun, you should still understand what it means to have a gun, what damage is going to be done to the animal, and if you're gonna, or the person or whatever gets shot with the weapon. But I just think people should know, because if that one time does come, let's say you're somewhere and something bad's happening, and the person that had the gun, like the police officer or whatever, is incapacitated and can't use it, and there's just a weapon laying there and no one knows how to use it. That's a really sad situation, and I've read a few times about that happening. It wouldn't happen around me, because even if it wasn't the exact same caliber of weapon that I would use, I would understand, use both hands or whatever in different situations depending on the weapon. But I would know how to use the weapon because I understand how it works and the whole thing about it. And I think everyone should have to learn that as an adult. I'm not saying to do it in school or anything, but I think it's very important that when you are an American citizen, you live in America, and we have the Second Amendment, that people understand what the Second Amendment means. I really do. Just like any of our laws. And it's really weird. I went to a couple of meetings. It wasn't really a class, but it was like meetings where they showed you the dumbest laws in your state. Basically, if you ever get to do anything like that, you got to go. You will be shocked at the stupidity of how many laws are on the books that you'll never ever use, but they're still there. Because once you get it on the books, it's almost impossible to get rid of it. But even if your state decided, hey, we're going to go on here and we're going to find the 10 worst laws or whatever, and we're going to get rid of them, take them off, because there's no reason to have these laws, you'd be shocked what kind of stuff. I mean, I've seen some people talked about, like, it's against the law to walk your duck after a certain time at night, things like that. Just real laws. It's very interesting. When you look it up online, you'll find it's hilarious. Some of the things that, like, who took the time to make it a law in the first place, if you think about it? Because you hear on the news 24/7 how this, that, and the other, and they're all fighting over some dumb thing they're going to do, build a bridge to nowhere. Like, one of the things that I remember people were arguing about was a bridge they were going to build in Florida. Now, we didn't even need to know about it because it's not even the state that I'm in. I don't live there. But the people I knew that live in Florida were fighting about it, saying how dumb it was. And I was like, well, why is it dumb to build a bridge? And they said, well, the bridge wasn't for people. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said the bridge was made so turtles and other animals could swim through under the bridge, so they wouldn't cross the bridge and get run over by a vehicle. And I said, okay. And I go, so you've never seen a dead animal on a bridge that's over water before? They say yes. And I said, well, it's kind of hard to tell the animal not to go over the bridge. And they said, yeah, that's what we're talking about. So I don't know. Sometimes the reason they do things like that is just, I don't know. Maybe they're getting incentives to build the bridge. So by that company or whatever that wants the contract to build some bridges so that animals won't get run over because they'll swim under or something. I don't know. I just thought it was so stupid when I was listening to them. But it's true. It's really true that we spend our tax dollars on dumb shit. And we're finding out, aren't we? All this stuff coming out after Doge, of how much we waste. And that's another thing with these rules. And it goes back to the same thing with this whole code that Hollywood put on themselves to try to regulate things, to give them more control over who can do what in the movie industry. To me, it sounds more like a monopoly. Like, okay, if only 4 big companies in Hollywood, like MGM, Paramount, whatever. I don't remember any of the names of the other ones. MGM was one I remember because I went to their hotel the last time I was in Vegas. I remember that one. But if you think about it, if you only have a certain amount of production companies and they're the ones making the rules, well, how many other production companies are going to move up in the ranks when these people are in charge? It's the same thing that we're seeing right now when you have when we had COVID. I'll use that as an example. Again, I hate to do that, but it just seems to work. You had big companies like Walmart, and then you had a bunch of companies that sold alcohol be able to keep their businesses open, for you to go buy alcohol at their businesses, and a couple others. I can't remember all of them because I'm in the Hillbillyville right now. So it really, during that time, going back and forth from one state to another for work, it just showed me who was allowed to make all the money. In Walmart, walking through Walmart didn't keep me safe any more than going to a restaurant and having to wear my mask, but I could take it off when I sat down. I don't know. To me, it was just stupid because I, as a person with allergies, already understand that a mask doesn't stop viruses. It says so right on the box. And that's what I did. I carried that box, I folded it and put it in my purse. And when I would go somewhere and they said, we have to wear a mask. And I'm like, why? And they said, well, because we don't want you to spread the COVID. And I go, you can't, a mask doesn't stop the virus. Well, and I could get the box and I'd show them. I said, you sold these in your store and you should know that this doesn't stop a virus. So they said, we have to ask the manager. And they would let me. They'd let me shop anyways. I said, I already washed my hands and I wiped off my cart, and I don't have a fever and I'm not sick or whatever. And they let me shop. But the thing is, everybody was staring at me, pointing, because, oh, look at her, she's trying to kill people. Whatever. I don't know. It was ridiculous. And I felt bad for people, especially the ones I'd see driving in their car by themselves wearing a mask when it did nothing to stop a virus. So I don't know. It's just sad because people are so easily trained into, doing things that you can't help themselves because they don't want to stand out. They don't want people pointing their finger at them or getting called a Nazi or whatever, a racist, a homophobe, or whatever name that someone can throw at you. Believe me, they're going to call you that anyways, whether you hear them or not. If you live a certain way or you dress a certain way, they're already making fun of you. I was made fun of my whole life because I was tall and skinny, and I was a brunette, and I was a nerd, and I was a tomboy. I got made fun of out the wazoo. So being made fun of as an adult is like, it's like no big deal. It doesn't change me at all. I'm still me when they're calling me names. And I have Black friends, I have Hispanic friends, I have Asian friends. I still love comic books. It didn't make me into something that I'm not. I'm still me. So you have a great night. I'm sorry I just saw that, but I'm not very good at I'll have to get better at the chat or whatever. But the thing is, don't let anyone else push you around and cause you to go, I'm not going to do that anymore, or I'm not going to go there anymore, or I'm going to quit doing this and I'm going to quit doing that. If that's what you enjoy. If you like collecting toothpicks, don't let someone else make fun of you and stop you from being able to have toothpicks. You know what I mean? So, no, I haven't gone over there yet. I don't have anything to show while I'm over there digging through my emails, but I will go through them unless there's a specific thing you want me to share with everybody on the show. I can go get it. But let me see if I got anything that I can share, because I don't think I have any videos. Oh, I'm trying to find anything, but no, I don't have. Everything is all reading stuff. I didn't have anything besides the one thing that I did read that was off Facebook. Most of it is just articles that you'd share. Let's see. It's the one with the link to the full text of the Hays Code. Is it? I'm trying to see it. Is it like with the one when I brought up this? Let me show you this one real quick. Let me stop this. And I shared, I think it was a Wikipedia thing. It was talking about it. Or was it, let me see, is it? I think it might be this one. Let me see. Oh, all right. Well, here's the other one that I found about after, because I asked why, because I remember when you and I and Bruce and all of us were talking about it in the thing before the movie review. And you had said that the Hays Code ended in 1968. So that was one of the things I typed in. Was why did the Hays Code end in 1968? And that's when this came up. I found this and I was reading it. It said the production code was replaced by the MPAA film rating system in 1968. The Motion Picture Association established this new system to provide parents with guidance on the appropriateness of films for children and teenagers, replacing the previous Hays Code, which had been in effect since 1930. The new rating system included categories such as G for general audiences, M for mature audiences, R for restricted, and X for adults only, allowing for more freedom in film content while still offering guidelines for audience suitability, which is honestly, after reading about what I did get to read about with the Hays Code and the difference between this is way better, because giving me as a parent the understanding of this movie is not for children. Okay. And one thing that really cracked me up is people that never watch any of the trailers. So they have no idea. Somebody told them this movie was about this, and I'm going to take my kids. Because I remember going, I was so excited to go see South Park the movie. I remember that. I was really happy because I love South Park. I thought it was so funny. But I had already seen the trailer for it, and I'm standing in line and I hear kids, and I start looking around at other lines for other movies, and I'm in line to go into the theater, the one movie that I'd picked, which was South Park the movie. And I look, and it's a little bit behind me, like 3 behind me is a mom and dad with 2 small boys. And I let the people in between us go past and get in front of me so I could be with the parents. And I asked them, I said, you know that this is an adult movie, right? And they went, what do you mean? It's a cartoon. That's what they said. I said, they have body parts and stuff are going to be seen in this movie. And they were like, really? And I said, yeah, but they took their kids in anyways. I don't know how you could do that. If it was rated R, you'd think they shouldn't be allowed to bring their kids. So I was just surprised that they still took their kids in to see this movie with with Satan and Saddam Hussein, and real pictures of cutout penises running around, stuff like that. I just think that's horrible that a parent would take a kid to see a movie that is an adult movie. Because you don't know what kind of effect you're going to have. I remember one person, and they were, I'm trying to think how old they were. I think they were 10. I think they were old enough to see it, but not every child, even though they're the same age, say you got 5, 10-year-olds, you can talk to all of them. All of them aren't at the same level when it comes to certain things that they understand or are capable of dealing with, just because they're the same age. And this one kid saw a movie that had the Crypt Keeper in it. It was I guess 3 movies put together or something like that. And they still, as adult today, are petrified of the Crypt Keeper character. That they had nightmares about this character and everything. So I guess you really can't even, know for sure how something's going to affect you until you see it. So I don't know. I don't know how you judge it. I don't know how you would make sure that, like one of my daughters is petrified of birds. And she was fine with birds because they had pet chickens when they were little, things like that. But as she got bigger, she wasn't here with me. She was, out with her friends and stuff, and she got dive bombed by, I guess, some blue jays or whatever, because she was walking around at a theme park or whatever, and I was getting dive bombed by some blue jays because I guess there was a nest near there. And now she's petrified that birds are going to poke her eyes out or whatever. But the thing is that I guess you can be traumatized at any age by something visual, something you see. I can tell you right now, when I was little, we lived in Spokane, Washington, and I remember my dad taking me and 3 of my sisters to a really scary haunted house. And my sister, younger than me, she was like a year younger than me. I was hanging on my dad's leg. I remember most of the time I was just hanging on my dad's leg and my eyes were closed. But there was this one part where I had let go and I was walking on because it really wasn't anything. And there was this, I just remember being overwhelmed with the smell of like wet burlap. Okay, I can't explain it. I know what burlap smells like because my grandpa had a farm. So the feed bags that he would have were burlap and they had feed in it. And he had to keep them up off the ground because if they got wet, then the feed would sour and seeds would start to grow and stuff, and he would have to throw it away. So he tried to keep it dry. But I remember a couple times that I could smell the wet burlap that water had seeped in, because the old barn and all that kind of stuff. So I know what that smells like. But I never thought of it in a scary way, the smell of wet burlap. I always thought of my grandpa's farm, that kind of thing. So it was a good thought. Whenever I'd smell it, it made me think of my grandpa's farm. But after going to this haunted house, I smelled wet burlap. And the next thing I saw was a casket opening in front of me and a vampire jumping out to grab my dad and my little sister he's holding. And I don't know why, ever since then, whenever I smell wet burlap, now I associate it with, something about to jump out and grab me. So, which is really weird because it smells, sounds, and things that you see trigger a response depending on, how it affected you at the time. But, I don't know. I guess everybody's different. But the thing is that I would never take a child to something if I saw the trailer and I thought this is an adult thing. I'm not taking a kid to it. I would go see something else. But, I guess every parent can do what they want. It says a R rating means that children aren't allowed without an adult supervision. Oh, really? I was shocked because it was rated R and, but NC-17 means children aren't allowed at all. Yeah, I guess it would have to be with the theater that would have to say yes or no, or tell them no, you're not taking your kids into this movie. So I guess the theater would have told them no, you should see it. But I was just shocked because that was the only kid that I saw in line for that movie, and it was 2 of them. They had 2 kids and they were going to take them in to see this movie. Now, I didn't hear them screaming or anything like that. So they probably didn't even watch it. Then maybe, I hope they didn't. I don't know. I just thought, I was just shocked that someone would take their kids to this movie. Because, it's just like, what was the other one that was so shocking? Oh, Team America World Police. Yeah, it's a movie about puppets, but it's not a kid movie. This is an adult movie. It's just like Futurama, the TV show Futurama. That's not a show I would say, hey, look, all these 10-year-old kids should go watch this movie or this TV series. No, heck no. It's very adult things happening in a cartoon. And I love cartoons, and I love good cartoons, but I wouldn't take a kid to it. But I think the newer rating, what do you think, Hardwick? Do you think the way they rate movies now compared to the Hays Code is a better, you think it's better? Or do you think it's just got more with the times, by moving it the way they did it? But to me, by reading the way that they've got it set up, so that when you see this rate next to it, that whether or not this age person should be able to go see it or not. Even though, just like I said earlier, some people can deal with something and not something else. I recommend that all parents watch the trailer before they send their kid, because you might be surprised by something that's in the trailer, like clowns. Okay, because I have a daughter that is petrified of clowns. I don't know why, because I don't remember any traumatic thing ever when she was little. But the only reason I even knew she was afraid of clowns is because I went to go see my grandmother, and she was in the hospital, and someone had given her one of those music boxes that you wind up, but it had a little happy clown that played music and clapped their hands. And it was in the window next to her, looking the other way, like people had picked it up a couple of times, and someone had wound it up and it was playing music. So my daughter ran over there, picked it up, and then started screaming because it had a clown on it. And she didn't like it. And she still doesn't like clowns to today. Now she would go see the movie It and scream her head off, but she went with her friends because they wanted to go see it. But she's still petrified of them. So, I would never buy her anything with clowns on it or anything, even to joke around, I just wouldn't do that, because to me, that's just really, really mean. Oh, yeah, that was a great episode, wasn't it? Death by Snoo Snoo. It was a great show. I absolutely loved Futurama. I keep asking Bruce if we can do, like a series. I would love it. If we could take the whole series of Futurama and watch like 4 or 5 episodes and then talk about the 4 or 5 episodes instead of a movie, something like that, I think it would be great. But I got him to watch like 3 episodes, and he didn't even really like it. So I don't think I'll want to do that with it. But to me, it's a really, really well done show. They did a great job. Yeah, I love Futurama too. I love Bender. God, Bender and Fry are just great. They're so much fun. But I'll go look right now. Let me see if I can find something to put up. I wish I had another guest, because if I had another guest, I could be digging around, because I have to go to the other email and open it and go through it. But I just hate to, just not be around, not be talking or anything. But let me bring something up. At least you guys maybe can read it. Let me see. Oh, here's one thing I found. I'll bring this up and let you guys look at it while I'm gone. Give me a second. It was, I think it was this PBS thing that I found. I'll bring that up while I go to my email. Yeah, right here, because I was reading it. Hollywood censored the production code. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll be right back. I'm going to go check my email real quick for what Hardwick sent. Give me 1 minute. Okay, let's see. Mhm. Yeah, I don't see it yet. Hold on. I'm looking through all my mail. There it is. Okay. Let me click on it, get it opened up. Okay. Let me stop sharing this and I'll open that. Yeah, this Microsoft Word thing. Yeah, I'll share this also in the chat with everybody. So let me get that real quick. So any of you guys can keep this if you're interested. Let me put it in the chat real quick. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, let me close this real quick. I'm going to turn off the comments so people can see this. It says the Motion Picture Production Code of 1930, the Hays Code. If motion pictures present stories that will affect lives for the better, they can become the most powerful force for the improvement of mankind. A code to govern the making of talking, synchronized, and silent motion pictures, formulated and formally adopted by the Association of Motion Picture Producers, Inc., and the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America, Inc., in March of 1930. Motion picture producers recognize the high trust and confidence which have been placed in them by the people of the world and which have made motion pictures a universal form of entertainment. They recognize their responsibility to the public because of this trust and because entertainment and art are important influences in the life of a nation. Hence, though regarding motion pictures primarily as entertainment without any illicit purpose of teaching or propaganda, they know the motion picture within its own field of entertainment may be directly responsible for spiritual or moral progress, for higher types of social life, and for most or much correct thinking. During the rapid transition from silent to talking pictures, they have realized the necessity and the opportunity of subscribing to a code to govern the production of talking pictures and of re-acknowledging this responsibility. On their part, they ask from the public and from public leaders a sympathetic understanding of their purpose and problems in a spirit of cooperation that will allow them the freedom and opportunity necessary to bring the motion picture to a still higher level of wholesome entertainment for all people. General principles. Number 1, no picture shall be produced that will lower the morale standards of those who see it. Hence, the sympathy of the audience should never be thrown to the side of crime, wrongdoing, evil, or sin. Oh, really? Wow. They don't want anyone to watch it and glamorize the fact that someone's a serial killer or a bank robber or a kidnapper. I think that's not too bad of a principle. 2, correct standards of life, subject only to the requirements of drama entertainment, shall be presented. That's a little bit open-ended. So you could fill things in there, I think, with that second one. 3, law, natural or human, shall not be ridiculed, nor shall sympathy to be created for its violation. Okay. That's interesting too. 1, crimes against the law. These shall never be presented in such a way as to throw sympathy at the crime as against law and justice, or to inspire others with a desire for imitation. That's interesting because we have movies like, what was the name of that one? I'm trying to remember the one that had Eileen Wuornos in it. And she was a serial killer. She was a woman serial killer that killed men. She was a prostitute, and I think she lived in Florida. And Charlene Theron played her in the movie. She did a damn good job with her makeup and everything. She did really good. Her acting was really good too. But it really didn't glamorize, but it did make you sympathize with her a little bit when she did become, a killer or whatever. So there's a lot of movies that you wouldn't be able to make simply because of that. And honestly, I thought The Green Mile was excellent. I mean, there's been quite a few movies about murder, crimes, the detectives chasing the serial killer, like Silence of the Lambs, things like that. And I could see that probably a lot of people watching Silence of the Lambs or one of the other ones that had to do with the same character, thinking, that he was an intriguing character because of who he was, and that he was very smart because he was a psychiatrist himself. So yeah, I could see how that would that one right there would stop a lot of movies that I thought were really good from being made, simply because that was one of the principles. Let's see, brutal killings are not to be presented in detail. Revenge in modern times should not be justified. I don't know. What was the name of those movies? My mom loved that actor. I can't remember what his name is, but in the movie, his wife and daughter are attacked by a bunch of thugs, and the daughter never speaks after that. She was like brutally raped and all that stuff, but the wife died. And I can't remember his name. Charles Bronson was in the movie, and he gets revenge against all these criminals that did that. So that movie wouldn't be made, and that was a really good movie, and I can't remember the name of it. Dang, sucks. My mom really liked that actor, so she liked it. But let's see what the next one. Revenge in modern times should not be justified. Okay. Methods of crime should not be explicitly presented. Theft, robbery, safe cracking, and dynamiting of trains, mines, buildings, etc. should not be detailed in method. Okay, so basically what they're saying is in that one, they don't want you to know how to blow something up. Like you're not smart enough to figure out how to make dynamite, or to put it together and light a stick of dynamite and start something on fire, or whatever, arson or whatever type of stuff. I think that was kind of a dumb one, because people that want to do something like that are going to figure out how to do it anyways, whether you show them how to do it in the movie or not. If they feel like this guy's a serial arsonist or whatever, and they want to emulate him, they're going to figure out a way to do it. Arson must be subject to the same safeguards. Oh, that was the next one. The use of firearms should be restricted to the essentials. That kind of leaves up. That's very open-ended too. Methods of smuggling should not be presented. I think people can figure that out too, depending on how the lead up to the smuggling is portrayed in the movie. Even a person who's not even into it would probably figure that out. The use of liquor in American life, when not required by the plot for the proper characterization, will not be shown. Oh, that's a weird one too. Sex, the sanctity of institution of marriage and the home shall be upheld. Pictures shall not infer that low forms of sex relationships are accepted or a common thing. So that means you can't talk about, affairs or, people picking up prostitutes or whatever either. So that takes a lot of movies out. Adultery, sometimes necessary plot material, must not be explicitly treated or justified or presented attractively. Well, they haven't done a very good job at that, I wouldn't say. But I haven't seen a lot of movies from in the 1930s and 20s. So I guess I would have to watch a few more to be able to, see whether or not the way they portrayed some of the movies was good. But even earlier, we were reading that a lot of the movies went under the radar and they weren't really forced or upheld very well. Scenes of passion, geez, I don't know how they would stop that. I mean, somebody could see two people kissing and think that that's passion. So I don't know. I don't know how they would stop any scenes of passion. They should not be introduced when not essential to the plot. Excessive and lustful kissing, lustful embraces, suggestive posturing, and gestures are not to be shown. Okay, that kind of makes sense a little bit. The general passion should be treated that these scenes do not stimulate or lower the baser element. Okay, seduction or rape, they should never be more than suggested and only when essential for the plot, and even then never shown by explicit method. They are never the proper subject for comedy. Sex, perversion of any interference is to be forbidden. White slavery should not be treated. Sex relationships between the white and black races is forbidden. Oh, yeah, I remember them talking about that. Sex, hygiene, and venereal diseases are not subjects for motion pictures. Wow. So everybody has sex and nobody knows that you can get sick from it. How smart is that? Pretty funny. Scenes of actual childbirth in fact or in silhouette are never to be presented. Wonder why. That's a weird one. But it's kind of hard to actually show a kid being born unless it's a documentary, because usually you don't have all the stuff set up, ready to go. You know what I mean? To make a movie. Children's sex organs are never to be exposed. That should be, yeah, I understand that. The scenes of actual vulgarity. The treatment of low, disgusting, unpleasant, though not necessarily evil subjects should always be subject to the good taste and regard of the sensibilities of the audience. Okay. That kind of makes sense, but I don't know. Just like I said, I haven't really seen that many movies from the 1920s and the 30s, so I really don't. I'd have to watch a couple movies. Hardwick, you're going to have to suggest some good movies, because I know you like older movies. Suggest some good movies for us to watch from the 1920s and 30s, if you know of any, so I can kind of get an idea of, some of these storylines in movies back then, to see whether or not I can tell if it takes away from the movie or not. You know what I mean? I would like to find out what that's like. But yeah, this is a lot of stuff. I can't read the whole thing because it's just page after page after page. But I did share it in the chat if you guys are interested in finding out more about the Hays Code itself, because this is exactly the whole thing. That it's 8 pages of I guess their suggestions for people in the entertainment industry to use to make their movies and stuff, so that they're not nasty, or won't make people want to go out and murder people, or become drunkards, or beat their wives, all those different type of things. So I don't know, maybe it did good for what they thought it was supposed to do to help, but it only lasted until 1968 or 69, when another group of people got together and decided to make it where it had ratings, so that a parent could see that rating on the movie poster at the theater and say, no, you're not going to watch that, it's rated R, or this or that. But today I think it's even simpler today, because all you got to do is just watch the trailer for the movie, and you pretty much get a gist of, with that, along with the rating, it should help you as a parent or aunt or uncle or whatever to say, hey, I'm not going to do that, because it doesn't necessarily work. Because I do have a nephew, and I remember I was going to the room because I was visiting and staying in one of their bedrooms, and I remember I was walking by to go up to my room, and he was playing a game. And I could see him, he was all excited and playing with the little controller. And I went in the room and I was getting something, and I heard him yelling like, give me that, or something like that. He was yelling at the thing. So when I came back again, he was standing up now, arguing with somebody on the thing. So I went around to see what it was, and I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm beating up this prostitute. And I go, what? Because he's a kid, a little kid. And I go, what do you mean a prostitute? And he goes, I'm taking my money back. And I went, what are you playing? And it was Grand Theft Auto. I just remember that. And I said, oh. So I grabbed the box and I took it downstairs with me. And I said, you bought this game for your kid? This is an adult game. This is not a kid game. And she started yelling at her husband because he had just bought it for her. But I go, these aren't even cheap. These are expensive too. So I was like, I was just shocked. I guess I was very anal as a parent. My poor kids didn't get to do squat, because I wouldn't let them play that game. So I was one of the parents, I hate to say this, I'm one of those parents that would go to the principal's office quite often saying, hey, this is bullshit. This shouldn't be allowed to be going on in the school, or this shouldn't be in the library, that kind of stuff. So I was one of those parents. I'm sure all of you are glad that I'm not your mother, because I would have been, you guys would have had a boring life. But, that kind of stuff to me, I thought was important, to make sure that your kid wasn't seeing. Now, if you want to sit down with your kid and tell them about the birds and the bees, you should. You have the right to do that. But what if your kid came home and was talking about something that had to do with the birds and the bees, and you would say, who told you that? Or how did you find out about it? And you found out another parent was telling their kid, so your kid just happened to be there. Would you get mad about that? Or would you be happy about it? So I never did that. That was one thing I remember telling my daughter. She had came home and asked me, it's all grown-ups in here, so I'll say it. She said that some boys were talking about wet dreams or whatever on the bus. And I said, yeah. and that they said that she made them have a wet dream or something like that. And I said, who was this or whatever? And she told me, and then I said, well, okay. So I took her in her room away from her sister, and I told her what it was, explained it to her to the best of my ability. And she was like, ew, you thought it was kind of gross or whatever. And I told her, I said, but now you know what it is. And I said, but I don't want you telling your friends, because it's up to their parents to tell them about those things. But I wanted you to understand what those boys were talking about you. And they might not even really know the real thing about what it is or whatever. But, sometimes you get forced into having to explain something to your kid simply because they stayed the night with their friend or played a game or watched a movie or whatever. And ta-da! Now you have to tell your kid about it because, someone else spilled the beans before you were prepared to do it. But you should be honest with your kid. You should tell them the truth about what it really means. Don't make it up, sugarcoat it, because they need to know the facts when it comes to those type of things. Because if something did happen to them, they should know the truth about it and what it means, or that type of thing. Now, that doesn't happen a lot. Some parents are just embarrassed, and sometimes they don't care that someone else told them something, because I've met some parents like that too. But if I found out that somebody's parent was telling my kid stuff that I didn't think was appropriate about things because they were telling their kid or whatever, for whatever excuse they had, I would confront the parent, but not in front of the kids. I wouldn't do that. I would say, we need to go to lunch or something, and then meet them and tell them that I didn't think that was appropriate. And please don't ever do anything like that again, and tell them, because I'm not going to let my kid come over to your house if I can't trust you to be responsible while my child's over there, blah, blah, blah. And I think that, I think all parents feel that way about your kid. But as they get older, less and less is going to be told to you. So you're not going to even know what they're finding out when you're not around, unless you have a good relationship with your kids. And hopefully you do, because your kids definitely should be able to feel comfortable to come tell their parent about anything that's going on with them without feeling like if they tell you they're going to be judged or grounded or whatever. Now, you do have to hold them accountable if they're doing something they shouldn't, but each person has to deal with it. Just like I believe in freedom. I believe in a parent's right to be a parent. You raise your child the way you see fit. And if you don't agree with the way another parent does something, then, don't let your kid hang out with them, or, set rules between what happens when they go over there or whatever, and do the same. But you got to remember, if you expect them to act a certain way with your kid, then you need to make sure you're doing that same respect towards another person's kid that's at your house. You know what I mean? So know what they're watching on TV, know what games they're playing, that kind of stuff, and don't just be an absent parent. Be involved, check in on them, see what they're doing, help them with things if they need help. I'm not saying I'm the best parent in the world, but when you love your kid, you just want to do the best for them. And I know that everybody loves their kids and wants what's best. And that's it. That's all I was going to say about it. But thank you, Hardwick, for that article, because that was really, really, wow. It's a lot more in there than I thought there was, because a few things that I was able to find, it just kind of skimmed over a lot of the areas. That's why I said it's very, very open-ended. And they could slip a bunch of things in there and say, well, we did the best we could, because there really isn't any, you know what I mean? They don't have any specific things. So we just kind of skirted around what we had to. And, but, some of the good shows I remember my grandmother liked, like that one you guys talked about the other day with Dick Van Dyke and his pretty wife, and they had a little boy in the show, but the way that things were done on that show, it was very prim and proper from what I can remember. I never really watched any of it or anything like that. I never even watched reruns of it, but my grandmother loved it. She thought it was a great show, and I can't remember the name of it right this second. Some parts of the code were very black and white. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A couple of the first ones that I read, I thought were pretty good. And then even a few others down the thing, but other ones were very vague. And that's where you would have the problems, because you can't enforce something when there's no real boundary. You know what I mean? You just kind of go, well, yeah, okay, all right, I guess. I could see why those certain things would be able to, people be able to worm around that. And just like you sent me those things about the stag movies, I can see why that would get away with it, because they were in a movie theater. These were ones people were making, and it was like under the table type things. Like somebody going into the movies and videotaping the whole movie and then taking it out and doing it on the street, selling it on the street. It's the same type of thing as a stag film would be. At least it sounds like it to me. So, yeah. There's always going to be somebody out there that's going to be able to figure out a way to do it themselves. You know what I mean? There's always going to be that, like with all the different things with the dark web or whatever else. You're going to still have people that are going to be able to break into government websites or hack into somebody's emails and things like that, because you're always going to have people that are smart or smarter than the people that are making the systems, right? That's why you're going to always have hackers. We're always going to have that, because there's always going to be somebody out there with the right equipment and the right frame of mind or whatever to be able to outwit the other people. So that's always going to happen. And same thing with stuff like this. When you have, a group, say a company or whatever, that has 2,500 lawyers working for it, and they're all day and night. That's their job, is to find ways around tax code or around how we can make these commercials and have this, that, or the other in it and not get in trouble. They're all gonna figure out how to do stuff. You know what I mean? So, all of us, just everyday Joes, don't have the dough, the money, for one, to hire the right people to come in and say, hey, we're going to figure out how to do this, that, or the other, and get away with it because, I got money and I can figure out how to get around it. But most of us aren't going to be able to do that. We're not going to be able to, pay someone to help us, help me, figure out how to get past this and how I can fix it or whatever. Well, we're not going to be able to do that. We can't. We just don't have the capacity that some of these other people might. But this definitely sounded like, when I was reading it, that it was very few people in charge, the elites or whatever you want to call it. So you have, a couple CEOs all sitting around saying, if we do this, this, and this, we can keep any of the little guys from being able to, slip in and start making money without us knowing about it, that type of thing. Because we did a couple reviews about movies like that, where I think it was called Ice Pirates or something. And there was another one, it was in the Guinness Book of World Records for the worst, biggest box office bomb or whatever, because it made the least amount of money. It was because when I watched it with Bruce. I'd never heard of it. It was with Gina Davis and Matthew Modine or whatever starred in it. It was a swashbuckling movie, and it was really good. I was really shocked. I was like, how did this movie not make money? But it was because when I started investigating it, I found out the movie was already $60 million in debt before they even started filming, because a group of people didn't want to see this movie be successful. And Paul Newman and his wife, Joanne Woodward, were involved, not with this. They were involved on the side of the company that was making the movie. Now, they weren't in the movie, but they were working. They had contracts with the company that was making the movie. Something happened with somebody saying some things about Joanne Woodward that pissed off Paul Newman. So he sent his people in to try to find out who was doing it, saying these things. And that person, one of the people that was saying this stuff, was the editor, one of the editors, and was friends with another person that was involved in trying to sabotage the movie so that this movie wouldn't become the hit that they were worried it was going to become, so that to hurt the people, because I think both of them had been fired from this company or whatever, so they were vindictive or whatever. But it was really, really interesting when you see some people will do anything to stop another person from being successful if they're jealous. So jealousy can go a long way, which is really scary to think about. There's so many people out there that aren't, emotionally stable. And we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of people, with shootings, and that one guy that drove his Tesla up to that Trump tower or whatever. I don't know which one it was, but I think it was in Las Vegas, and then he blew up his Tesla, just weird stuff. We got all these weirdos, and it's just scary to think about it, that, because they're not mentally, normal anymore. And when you try to put rules and regulations on people like that, they're not going to follow you. I mean, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to do whatever the heck they want anyways, no matter how many rules you have, right? So, but that's good. I think that it was interesting when we were talking about it, because I had never heard of it. I didn't know there was these, they had these, and why they started doing it in the first place. So when you told me about it, when we were all talking, and I found out about Fatty Arbuckle, being accused of murdering this girl, basically, in such a horrible manner too. And then finding out he was acquitted on his third trial, and that the jury basically apologized to him, saying that they're shocked that he got 3 trials because there was nothing. There was no evidence at all to prove he did anything. And all the slander that came out against the young woman who died from probably something she would have died from anyways, because she had constantly got bladder and kidney infections and all that stuff. And just because she died from that doesn't mean that she died from the way they say, the one woman was trying to say had happened. When I was reading some of that earlier today, the first thing that popped in my head was that movie Chicago, with all the lying people trying to get away with murder and stuff like that. In that was a singing, I guess it wasn't really a comedy. I would say it was a drama, with a bunch of good actors and stuff. It was a really good movie, but that's what it reminded me of, the way they were trying to twist and turn the words and stuff to fit the narrative for them, to help them get away with a crime, just like what it said in the Hays Code, that you're not allowed to glamorize or whatever a crime to make it look like something might that people might want to do when they know it's against the law. So yeah, I think that. Oh, you just rewatched Chicago? Yeah, I tried to watch it a couple weeks ago. I got it all set up because I bought a little drive so that I can play, DVDs and stuff. Because I would like to start watching uh, other movies in my Discord, not just the ones that we watch on Sunday. Because like the other day, I was bored because I was doing laundry and doing housework, and I wanted to watch the movie called The Brotherhood of the Wolf, because I've seen the trailer a few times and I haven't seen the movie, and it looks like it's going to be so freaking good. And I haven't seen it. And Bruce has this kick right now that we're going to watch all these Clint Eastwood movies. So I thought, what the heck? I'll just watch it, and watch it and see if somebody wants to watch it with me in Discord. But I'm still trying to figure out the best program to hook up to my computer so I can put a disc in and watch it without having to, mess up my computer or whatever. So I don't know a lot about, adding programs and things like that. But I would like to watch it because it looks really good. I think it plays both because it's pretty new. And it just said I don't have the box. I'd have to get the boxes so I can show it to you. But it's not a DVD player. It's like a little square, about that big, and it said you need 2 different programs or whatever. Has a little book and it tells you what to do. But I am just not very smart when it comes to. Okay, it took me forever to go live, even though I'd paid all this money to have the what was it, Stream Elements or whatever it was I had, and it sucked. I couldn't do it. I couldn't figure out anything. And then one night I was crying during the stream, and a few people like I think Kronos was there. There's quite a few people that still have something to do with me today. They were in there and like, I was like, can you help me? What do you do? What am I doing wrong? And I was like, Bruce finally came and saw me, and I shared I got on Discord and I shared my computer screen with him, so he could see the program I was on, and he told me this, that, and the other, what to do. But it was still really hard. Streaming Elements was so hard. I mean, you have to be like, college graduate or something in electronics or something to be able to use it. So it was hard. It was a really hard program to use. So then Bruce was using what I'm using, StreamYard, and he was telling me about it. So I thought, this time I'm not paying for it. I'm just going to get a free one and see how it works, because that was the thing. I thought, I got a new computer. I'm going to get this thing. I'm going to pay for this whole year because I got this little bit of money. And man, I was wrong, because I ended up wasting all $300 something that I paid for a year's subscription or whatever to do it. And I couldn't do it. I could not figure out how to do it. It is really hard, some of that stuff. But I'm slowly getting better at making videos and doing, just doing different things. The thing that I have sent, every time you do this, there's a little thing that comes up and asks, what you liked, what you didn't, things like that. And I always try to fill it out. But one thing I always say, please fix it so when I type in the chat, that I can talk to the people at the other places that I'm streaming, not just YouTube. Because if I'm streaming on Rumble, why can't I talk to the people on Rumble? If I'm streaming on Kick, why can't I talk to them too? Why can't I talk to the people on X? Why do I have to open up my phone and go back and forth to 2 or 3 other things just to talk to them? And I can talk to them on here speaking, but if they just said, hey, how you doing? And I want to say hi to them, if I don't have a wrench and they're doing it for me. And a few wrenches that I've given out, most of them, they can't stay the whole time, or they're just in there for, a few minutes, and they say hi to a couple people, which is helpful. But I can't get someone that will stay long enough to help me out. Like let's see, was it last Friday? I had like, 4,000 people in and out, and I couldn't keep up with the chat, and I had 6 trolls I had to block, and it was just a real pain in the butt. So as you get bigger, and if you get a bigger chat, how are you supposed to deal with it? How are you supposed to try to do a show, present stuff, and do all the talking? I don't know how people do it. I'm just not that good of a typer. I can't read fast enough to do it that way. I'm just not, I'm not a computer programmer, or any of that stuff. If it had, some other way of fixing it, that would be great. But that's what I do. I do try to make the app that I am using, I try to give them feedback to what I like and what I don't, so that hopefully sooner or later they'll add certain things. But I've been happy with it so far. A lot of people gripe because they don't want to pay, but see, I pay for it every month, even though I'm not making any money. Now I just started getting to be able to do super chat, so maybe I can start getting enough money to pay for at least that service. Because if I can just pay for that so that I can stream to 3 places. But one thing that I'm paying extra for that most people don't do is when I have a guest on my show, I let them stream it to their channel if they want. I pay extra so that anyone who's on here as a guest can stream it to their channel, because that's one thing that Bruce did for me. Bruce, once we figured out that I decided that I was going to maybe do the show with him, I liked being able to, I didn't at first because I didn't even know I could. I didn't even think about it. But then one day I said, I want to try it. So he showed me how to be able to get the app so I could stream it to my own channel. And, I was thankful for that, because that's when I first started seeing, hey, I can put stuff on here. I can do this, I can do that, and learn from it. So maybe if somebody's a guest on my show, like I had Omer Glitch on here, I had Darren on here talking about their comic books that they're writing and the artists that are going to do in this, that, and the other. And I let him stream it on his channel too. Because it's his story. I want him to be able to share it with other people. And, I pay for that. If I'm going to do it, if they're willing to come on my show and let me interview them, why wouldn't I want them to be able to share it with, their family or their friends or their group of people that are all involved in comic books or whatever. So, that's why I do it, because this is my social life. This is what I do for fun. I live in in a place that's very rural, so there really isn't a lot of things to do. I could drive 3 or 4 hours and go do something, but then I don't want to have to drive back. Especially if I go somewhere, have dinner, and have a good drink, I'm not going to be driving. I'll be sleepy or whatever. So I'd have to get a hotel or stay with a friend, right? So I decided to start doing this kind of stuff because this is, I think it's fun. And I enjoy doing it. And I've met some really interesting people. I've met some real cool people that have showed me stuff that I'd never heard of, like this whole code thing. I'd never heard of it. I never even heard anyone talk about it or mention it until last Sunday when we were in the chat, and Hardwick is the one that mentioned the Hays Code, and I was like, what is that? I didn't know what it was, but it was interesting to me that a group of people that want to make money making movies in a production company decided, hey, with this stuff that's happening, these murders and some other stuff and scandals about, people, having slaves or whatever else, or drinking each other's blood, and all these really scary things that you read about. This was their way of maybe being able to quell some of it by having some rules that people had to follow. So I thought it was interesting. So I thought, I might do a show about it. So since I didn't have anyone coming on the show, I thought I'll bring that up and talk about it because I thought it was pretty cool. And I shared a few links so people can go and read about it themselves. And if they decide they want to get into the industry doing something, whether it's, directing, writing, or acting, or any of those, or, set design or whatever it is that you decide to do, you'll have an interesting story to talk about with other people, and other people you meet might already know about it. I mean, I don't know. I'd never heard of it. I knew that some weird rules, they had weird rules because my mother was the one that told me about it, that she thought it was funny that when they had a love scene, how they had to have their foot on the floor and stuff like that, years ago. And I thought, that's just really cool. But I think I've shared everything I had. Yeah, that one's nothing. But yeah, it is sad that some of these people, somebody could die on a set, like what happened with, I think it was on the set of Rust, was the name of the movie, and someone shot 2 people. One of them died, and I don't even think he spent a day in jail for it when he aimed right at him and shot him. Even though it may not have been he didn't mean to shoot them, but the fact that you've been on hundreds of sets before and you didn't check the weapon to make sure it wasn't loaded, I don't know. Just to me, it didn't make sense. That's like definitely you messed up and you took someone's life, so you should have to pay something for it. And I'm not talking about a few dollars. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the family to have some, some way of accepting that this person made a huge mistake by not checking the weapon and taking responsibility. That's basically what I'm saying. And it doesn't matter whether they're real famous or not. The person has had guns in their hand for many, many, many years on sets, for lots of shows and movies. And yet this one time they don't check to make sure the gun's not loaded. So I don't know. I just think that just shows you that certain people in the industry think they can just do whatever they want and never have to pay for it, like you would if you were in the industry, whatever. And I just think that's wrong. But we'll see if it gets better or not. Especially now, they're going to have to make a bunch of changes now that we have the AI. Is the AI going to be the one that looks at everything and says, oh, all movies have to go through a scan or something before they're allowed to put them out the movie theater? Are we even going to have theaters? Is there everything going to be streamed? I hope not, because I sure like going to the movie theater. That new movie with Sam Rockwell, can't remember the name of it. Terrible over that. Sorry, I'm really tired. But that new movie with Sam Rockwell, I'm definitely going to go see it. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's coming up pretty soon because I saw the trailer about 7 days ago. And man, it looks really cool. It's got Juno. She was in Ted Lasso. She is adorable. She's gonna be one of the main characters in the diner at the beginning. So good night, Bone. Thank you for stopping in. Yeah, I'm about to go to bed myself. I don't even know what time it is. Wow, it's 11 o'clock. Okay, it's late for me. It's 11 p.m. I don't know where all of the rest of you are at or what state you're in, but I'm in Central Time. But thank you guys for joining me tonight, hanging out, and just, learning something new about something that we probably didn't know about. I don't know if you knew, but now I knew Hardwick knew because he's the one that told me about it when we were watching the other movie from last Sunday, Fistful of Dollars, which was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's a really good movie. And then I finally found out why they're called spaghetti westerns, because they're made, in Italy, basically, in Spain or whatever, all over there. And what was really interesting was the fact that the movie was made and it was completely silent, because Clint Eastwood didn't even put his own voice and dub over the movie until 1967, and it was made in the 50s, late 50s. When they filmed it. So I just thought the whole thing was really cool. I've heard some good things about Iron Lung. You know what? I haven't got to see the whole trailer yet. I've gotten to see tiny snippets. It seems like every time I sit down in front of my computer and want to watch a few trailers, all of a sudden something happens. My phone rings, or the dog starts barking. It's just funny how that happens. It's just like when you are in a hurry to get somewhere and you get behind every slow person, or you get every single red light, that's in town. All of a sudden you're in all that. That's what happens to me every time I try to watch certain trailers. But I was lucky because I was on Bear's channel and we were just talking about our favorite movies. Oh, I gotta keep yawning. And they were talking about some new movie that was about to come out, and I was like, that sounds familiar. And when he said Sam Rockwell, I said, I think I know this one, the one where he's a time traveler. And they go, yeah, we're gonna watch it. So they put the trailer on and we watched it and was like, wow, it's really kick-ass. But it looks like it's going to be really good. And I haven't seen him in anything in a while. It seems like it's been, I know he has been in a couple of things, but nothing really major that I've seen, that has been really big. Because I loved him in Galaxy Quest. I thought he was funny as hell. And I loved him in the one with Drew Barrymore and stuff. He was the bad guy. It was in Charlie's Angels. He was in that. And, and a few other things. But it's really been like a gap. It's been like a few years since I've seen him in anything. So I'm kind of excited because I think he's a pretty good actor. I really do. And I can't wait to see him. And this one looks like it's going to be a really fun movie. But thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope I didn't bore you too much. It was fun for me. I love it. I think I'm getting a little better about looking stuff up and trying to present it instead of clicking the wrong one. I'm trying to get more organized or whatever with my notes and things like that. And I have this one feature that I haven't used yet, and I want to try it. It's new. It's a teleprompter, and I can put something on. It's a note area, and you click on it. I'm going to try it real quick, and it says like this. And you guys can't see it, but I can see the words that come up, on the screen, and you push a little button and it goes really slow. It says let's see what it says. During a party held on Labor Day, September 5th, 1921, in Roscoe Arbuckle's suite at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. See, I can read that. So depending on, what I put up there, but I've never used it yet. I just used it now, but I want to use it. And I was thinking about doing another show about UFOs and stuff, because there's been a few more. I've been seeing a lot more little videos and stuff on some of the other platforms I'm on showing. I don't know how you do it though. Is there telescopes that anybody and their brother can buy and have it up on your roof at home or whatever and look at the moon and see stuff? Does anybody know if that's possible or not? Because he was sharing some videos and I was looking at them, and to me, in the sky, the way that he was posting, I said that could be the space station, because it was like he was showing how it was going through it looked like a green cloud or whatever because of the lighting. But he said you could see the indentation in the cloud as it went through it. And I was like, I didn't see it. I couldn't tell. I was trying to get zoomed in, look at it, but I couldn't tell from that. But the way that where it was positioned in the sky from the way that his telescope was looking at it, to me, it looked like a couple times I've seen some footage on TV of the space station, supposedly, and then you see the other stars and stuff around, right? If it's bright enough. But that's what it looked like to me. And I put that on there. But every time I posted that on his thing, I'd go back, like the next day or the day after, and my post would be deleted. So I don't know if he's just getting rid of it because he doesn't want other people to think it's the space station too. I don't know. But that's what I was thinking. And I do believe in aliens, because I'm from another planet. No, I'm just kidding. But you guys have a great night, and thank you very much for hanging out with me, and I appreciate it. And what do you write? I just coming back in here now. Let me see what it says. The code was not enforced consistently. It was just the first 3 years. Oh, okay. So, but you do like movies from the 1930s, don't you? Haven't you told me that before? Or was it from the 40s? But I haven't seen anything. I've not watched a single movie made in the 30s that I know of. But I would like to see a few movies, just to see what you were talking about the changes from what it was like then, and then let's do 10 years, later, the same type of movies. You know what I mean? Like we'll pick like 3 different types of movies, like a romance, a comedy, and a thriller. Okay. In the 1930s, 3 different ones, and then get a romance, a comedy, and a thriller from the 1940s. How and watch, compare how they evolve from each other from in 10 years, the difference from the rules set down by these by these people that are running it, to see if I could tell a difference between those in that 10-year span, or even 20, and do it every 10 years, and see the progression of the change of the movies. You know what I'm talking about? And because we know acting makes a difference, actual what you see on screen with makeup, and sets and bodies or whatever, like you were saying. But I'd like to see if I can tell a difference, and if I think it helped or hurt the industry. That's interesting to me, that part of it. So, but I'd have to dig that out and sit and watch them. And that's why I said I was trying to hook up my little, disc player or whatever you call it. It has a name, but I can't remember what it was called, the brand, whatever. But I would like to see if I can tell that this industry was affected simply by these rules or not. See what I mean? Because if there really isn't that much of a big gap, in they're all bad movies up until this year, you know what I mean? In 12 years, there's 3 movies that are decent or believable or whatever because of the rules. Or do all of them seem to be perfectly fine with the stipulations on them? And how many of them break up the rules that end up being better because they broke the rules? See, that's what think would be a really cool way to look at it, to see if we can figure that out or not. I think that would be neat. But sometimes we never get what we want. You know what I mean? But as long as we keep trying to figure things out, see what's better and what isn't better, and then try to keep going towards what's better for everyone, instead of making it, and still have freedoms, but not stifle people. I don't know. I just want people to be able to be individuals like me and my 4 sisters. I'm the only one that ended up being, into comic books and all that, and a tomboy at like going hunting and fishing and stuff. And my sisters are very girly and they don't like any of that junk. So, we'll see. But what the future holds for everyone, if we can all still be very different, or are we going to be more and more similar to where people can hardly tell if you even have a personality? You know what I mean? But oh well, I'll talk your head off. But hope you guys have a wonderful evening and stay out of trouble. Talk to you later. Bye.